Chapter 535. There were more than 30 experts in the small tavern. All of them were heroes who dominated a region. Some were even sect masters. It was as lively as the Mu Clan Academy's first day of school. Xiao Xingyang was extremely domineering. He looked down on everyone in the world. Tian Jianzi almost declared war with Xiao Xingyang. They were ready to fight at any moment. Huang Zai-Tian was silent like a high and mighty emperor. His origin was unknown, he was a hermit. His master was in existence on par with the Manor Lord. His battle prowess was unparalleled. Huang Zai-Tian had never used his full strength, yet he was able to enter the top 5 of the younger generation in the divine cleansing manner. All the overlords and experts stared coldly at Xiao Xingyang. The battle had yet to begin, but the flames of war had already spread. Xiao Xingyang glared at the heroes and said coldly, "You can leave now. For the favor you have shown me today, I will confer the title of a middle-level god and marry the 7th princess. I will definitely take you as my followers and become a true overlord." What a joke. You? Don't forget that the 7th princess hates you the most. Tian Jianzi sneered without holding back. So what? Wait until I get the 7 extremes grass and save her life. Then everything will be reversed. Xiao Xingyang said calmly. Wait until you get the 7 extremes grass. Fenghe Prefecture's Shun Feng and Jingtian mocked in disdain. The smell of gunpowder in the tavern was very strong. Those who dared to fight for the treasure definitely had someone backing them. Their combat strength was extraordinary, and no one was afraid of anyone. Let me remind you, fighting for the 7 extremes grass is one thing. If anyone dares to destroy the 7 extremes grass, the Mu Clan master will definitely kill all of us. Huang Zaitian said calmly. As soon as this sentence was spoken, the restaurant instantly quieted down. What Huang Zaitian said was absolutely true. Once the 7 despair grass was destroyed, this group of people who participated in the competition would all die without a complete corpse. Time passed slowly. Suddenly, the communication talismans on the waists of more than 20 people in the tavern flashed at the same time. Yi Qinghan actually took the initiative to walk out of the arrogant sect. Xiao Xingyang was stunned. He thought that the arrogant sect would frantically defend themselves until the people from the Mu clan residence arrived. He didn't expect Yi Qinghan to take the initiative to attack. Yi Qinghan held Kuang in his hand and his clothes fluttered in the wind. He stood proudly against the wind and looked down at the followers of the heroes. The domineering aura and the might of an emperor emitted from his body made those low-level gods turn pale. They hurriedly sent a message to their masters and retreated, not daring to look directly at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan, hand over the 7 extremes grass, and I will guarantee your entry into the Mu Clan Academy with senior brother Xingyang. This person was wearing the uniform of the Mu Family Academy. He was definitely one of the top figures in the Afternoon God Shrine. Yet, he had chosen to follow Xiao Xingyang. It seemed that Xiao Xingyang was not only extremely powerful, but also had a frightening background. Yi Qinghan, you definitely won't be able to protect the 7 extremes grass. Hand it over to our Sky Sword sect and we'll guarantee that you'll have no worries for the rest of your life. Moreover, you'll be able to enjoy wealth and glory. A deacon of the Sky Sword sect stared at Yi Qinghan and reminded him in a deep voice. At the same time, the disciples of the various major powers came up and threatened Yi Qinghan, hoping that Yi Qinghan would hand over the 7 extremes grass. Yi Qinghan looked at this group of people and smiled coldly. He was extremely disdainful. He directly stabbed Kuang into the ground and quietly waited for the people behind them to arrive. The moonlight was like water, and the tall mountains and green trees swayed in the night. Occasionally, a deafening wolf howl could be heard, causing the expression of the god shrine to change slightly. Emperor Yi and Medusa stood in the sect, waiting for the true experts to arrive. The heavenly Qilin raised its front hooves, its battle intent soaring. It wanted to join hands with Yi Qinghan and fight. The heavenly Qilin rushed out of the western gorge mountain and appeared in front of Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan lightly jumped and sat on the back of the heavenly Qilin. Roar! The heavenly Qilin directly charged at the crowd with lightning speed, forcing Yi Qinghan to attack. Hua! Hum! The blade slashed forward, causing the sky to collapse. A black hole tore through heaven and earth, causing the surrounding area to be filled with a bloody rain. Yi Qinghan, how dare you! Pucci! Yi Qinghan casually slashed open the divine bodies of 8 god shrines, causing their godhoods to fly out. Before they could escape, the cloud beast was even faster than Yi Qinghan. It swept past their shoulders, snatched the godhoods, cut them open, killed the souls inside, and swallowed them in one gulp. Save me! A large number of god shrines fled in fear, but Yi Qinghan was like a wolf in a flock of sheep, transforming into an ancient war god. 1 man, 1 saber, and 1 mount, he rampaged through and began to harvest the godhoods. The cloud beast looked the same size as a godhood, but after swallowing more than 10 godhoods, it did not look bloated at all. Its stomach had another space that could contain thousands of godhoods. As long as it did not absorb them, it would not explode. The cloud beast cried out excitedly and followed Yi Qinghan to suppress the godhoods. The godhoods resisted slightly and were cut apart by the sharp claws. More than 100 god shrines, hundreds of venerable sovereigns, and dozens of people from large factions were killed by Yi Qinghan in just 10 breaths of time. The remaining half fled frantically, crying for their parent. They wished their fathers had not given them a pair of wings. Boom! Yi Qinghan's saber was domineering and arrogant. Even divine weapons were torn apart by it. One expert even took out a lesser deity weapon, but Yi Qinghan cut him and his sword into 2. Pooh! No matter how strong the god shrines were, they could not withstand Yi Qinghan's ferocious attacks. 1 god shrine was smashed into pieces and flew back while spurting blood. Before his godhood could heal, Yi Qinghan reached out and grabbed it. After another 10 breaths of time, only a dozen god shrines were left. They looked at Yi Qinghan in horror as if they were looking at a real war god. It was as if they had seen Lu Zhantian return from the battlefield. No, it was even more domineering and arrogant than Lu Zhantian. If Lu Zhantian's aura was unstoppable, then Yi Qinghan's aura was simply impossible to look at. Yi Qinghan's aura was peerless and surged into the 9 heavens. His cold eyes looked down on all living beings, and a cold smile appeared on his handsome face. You little brats, not to mention you, even if your master came personally, I would not put him in my eyes. If you want the 7 extremes grass, you have to exchange it with a supreme treasure. If you want to snatch it, then let's see if your fists are hard enough. Yi Qinghan coldly said. Yi Qinghan, you will definitely regret this. You devil! You killed so many of our people, just you wait. Master will be here soon, you are dead. More than a dozen god shrines were 1,000 meters away. They were drenched in cold sweat and only dared to clamor from afar. Ha 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 ha! It's just killing people. I don't know how many I have killed in my life. Not to mention you, even if your master came, I would still kill him. If you don't want to die, then scram. Yi Qinghan's voice was like thunder as he laughed loudly. Too arrogant. Too domineering. One person declared war on so many forces under the divine Mu estate. Moreover, they all had some higher-ups behind them. Was he not afraid of revenge from the divine Mu estate? Yi Qinghan's cold eyes flickered. Those higher-ups of the divine Mu estate betrayed him. Sooner or later, he would settle the score with them. Today, he wanted to beat the dogs and kill these self-righteous bastards. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. In a flash, the dozens of experts in the restaurant all arrived outside the western gorge mountain. They were furious when they saw Yi Qinghan almost slaughtering all of their subordinates. Chapter 536. Xiao Xingyang and the others landed on the western gorge mountain and glared at Yi Qinghan with furrowed brows. They didn't expect Yi Qinghan to be such a tough nut to crack. Huang Zitian looked at Yi Qinghan, who was riding the heavenly qilin and wielding the berserk hammer, with shock in his eyes. He didn't expect Yi Qinghan's strength to be ranked among the top 10 young experts. Xiao Xingyang looked at the corpses on the ground. 2 of his 3 followers had died, and they were both disciples of the Mu Clan Academy. He was the one who brought them out, so he had to take responsibility for their death. This made him even angrier. Yi Qinghan, how dare you kill the people of the Mu Clan Academy? Xiao Xingyang angrily rebuked. Yi Qinghan sneered and asked indifferently, do I need to look at who the master is to kill a dog? Since they dared to provoke me, I'll kill them. You're just a slightly stronger dog. What can you do to me? Xiao Xingyang's aura stagnated, and his killing intent surged. When Tian Jianzi saw that Yi Qinghan had the ability to compete with Xiao Xingyang, he didn't interrupt. He waited for the 2 of them to fight to the death. Instead, he and Huang Zitian retreated to the side and watched coldly. The other overlords surrounded the area. They didn't attack, but they had to prevent Yi Qinghan from escaping. Xiao Xingyang's gaze was terrifying. He stared at Yi Qinghan and coldly threatened, Yi Qinghan, submit to me, and I'll guarantee your entry into the Mu Clan Academy. Otherwise, you'll be buried with them even if you have 10 lives. Mu Clan Academy? Yi Qinghan smiled disdainfully and said indifferently, since I dared to kill them, I didn't think about who was behind them. So what if it's the Mu Clan Academy? Since you dared to steal my things, you should be prepared to die. You can either scram or what? Xiao Xingyang asked. Either you die like them or you die like them. I want to let the world see if the trash taught by the Mu Clan Academy will have the face to ask me why I killed a bunch of bandits after they are slaughtered. Yi Qinghan held violent hammer tightly and swept his gaze over the crowd. His battle intent soared as his blade chi surged. The people from the Mu Clan Academy were enraged. The disciples of the Mu Clan Academy were the elites of the 3 divine academies. To enter the Mu Clan Academy was an honor. But today they were humiliated. How could they not be angry? Ha! The Academy's students and teachers were all shameless, and the students and teachers were all in the same. The students and teachers and their students and teachers' worse were like a snake rats a rat's, and students and their. If it wasn't for the fact that the Mu Clan Academy had the Tian Ke Divine Academy behind them, even the Mu Shin residents would have annihilated this group of people. You're the first person to humiliate the Mu Clan Academy. Today you'll die. Xiao Xingyang roared and summoned the Heavenly Sun Sword. It was ranked 3rd among the 10 divine swords of the Mu Clan Academy. It was a low-tier divine artifact. Compared to the sword Yi Qinghan obtained, it was stronger. Boom! Yi Qinghan raised his long blade, and the blade light soared to the sky. Not to mention you, even if all the top disciples of the Mu Clan Academy came, I'd say the same thing. If you want to kill me, you'll have to rely on your own ability. Words won't kill. Yi Qinghan said disdainfully. At this time, the divine bird suddenly jumped out and opposed Yi Qinghan's words for the first time. It said proudly, who said words won't kill? This divine bird can kill this bastard with one sentence. Seeing that it was a parrot, Xiao Xingyang was enraged. He roared, lowly people, I'll kill you. Before Xiao Xingyang could make a move, the divine bird chuckled and took out a bunch of 7 extremes grass. Didn't you want the 7 extremes grass? I have nothing but 7 extremes grass. Whoever kills this bastard, I'll give you a few stalks of 7 extremes grass. It'll be enough to save your little princess. Everyone's pupils shrank when they saw the 7 extremes grass. They were so excited that they couldn't wait to grab the 7 extremes grass. Xiao Xingyang didn't dare to move, for fear of destroying the 7 extremes grass. The divine bird suddenly spat out a mouthful of fire and threatened, "Whoever dares to move, I'll destroy the 7 extremes grass and let your academy master deal with you." Everyone was dumbfounded. They all distanced themselves from Yi Qinghan, for fear that the divine bird would really destroy the 7 extremes grass. "Didn't you all want the 7 extremes grass? Kill this bastard, and I'll give you the 7 extremes grass. Killing this bastard will be much easier than dealing with my master," the divine bird said proudly. Yi Qinghan rolled his eyes. He knew that the divine bird wanted to use the same trick against the Qilin tiger and the black tortoise. These were all top-notch experts. If they joined forces to attack Yi Qinghan, they would definitely be able to suppress him. If they chose to attack the Western Gorge Mountain unscrupulously, the inner sect disciples would be implicated. Yi Qinghan didn't stop the divine bird. Everyone looked at Xiao Xingyang. In terms of individual combat power, Xiao Xingyang was the strongest in this group. Even Tian Jianzi was slightly inferior. However, with so many people looking at him together, and the ferocity in their eyes was obvious, Xiao Xingyang's heart sank, and he hurriedly took a step back. "What do you want? If you want to kill me, you'd better think carefully about whether you can withstand the revenge of the Mu Clan Academy." Xiao Xingyang threatened coldly. "Are you the only disciple of the Mu Clan Academy? If I kill you and save the 7th princess, I don't think Master will blame me." Tian Jianzi raised his sword and charged forward. The Heavenly God Sword was ranked 5th among the top 10 divine swords. Tian Jianzi made his move, and Huang Zitian and the others also charged forward. Boom! 7 of the top 10 experts began to kill each other. Xiao Xingyang was instantly sent flying a few hundred meters away. Even with his overwhelming combat power, he couldn't deal with 6 disciples of the same level at the same time. Whoosh! The Heavenly God Sword swept past and cut open Xiao Xingyang's left arm. Xiao Xingyang let out a miserable cry and swept his sword. The Heavenly Sun sword aura shattered the void and swept through the experts. Immediately, a few of them were injured at the same time. Divine blood spilled, and the area outside the Western Gorge Mountain became hell on earth. The various overlords and mercenaries gradually surrounded Xiao Xingyang, and they no longer cared about Yi Qinghan. Xiao Xingyang's escape route was blocked, and he immediately roared toward the sky and attacked the young elites like a madman. In order to obtain the 7 extremes grass, some of the Mu Clan Academy's disciples couldn't care less and joined the battle. Xiao Xingyang, a top-notch expert of a generation, almost died. He coughed out blood continuously, and more than half of his divine power was instantly exhausted. Huff, huff, huff! Xiao Xingyang glared at the experts and roared, "You bastards, you better not let me escape today. Otherwise, I will teach you all a lesson." It would have been better if Xiao Xingyang didn't say that. Now that he said that, the experts couldn't let him escape, especially the disciples of the Mu Clan Academy. They were even more ruthless than the other overlords. After all, Xiao Xingyang's position in the Mu Clan Academy was very high, and it was easy for him to take revenge on someone in the academy. How could they give Xiao Xingyang a chance? The divine bird smiled disdainfully. Xiao Xingyang could kill an expert with just a few words. As for the 7 extremes grass, it obviously couldn't be given to them. Even if they killed Xiao Xingyang, the divine bird could deny it. No matter what, they couldn't win against its mouth. Chapter 537. Boom, boom, boom. Dozens of strong cultivators attacked Xiao Xingyang. His body was covered in blood, and he was bleeding profusely. He couldn't recover from the divine weapon, and his injuries were getting worse. The divine bird laughed arrogantly. "Anyone who dares to be more arrogant than me will die a horrible death. I can kill you with just my mouth. What right do you have to be arrogant in front of me?" Xiao Xingyang was so angry that he vomited blood and flew backward. Huang Zitian's palm landed on his chest, and his soul was almost shattered. Big Dipper Divine Fist. Boom. Meng Wushuang, the leader of the Heavenly Dipper Mercenary Corps, launched an attack that flew over the Heavenly Sun Sword and landed a punch on Xiao Xingyang's back. Xiao Xingyang lost control of himself and flew toward Yi Qinghan. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan raised his saber and slashed. The saber light cut through the void and collided with Xiao Xingyang. Xiao Xingyang watched in horror as the saber slashed toward him, but he couldn't dodge. He even took the initiative to hit the saber. The feeling of powerlessness and fear made his limbs cold. He couldn't move, and he couldn't even scream. Boom! Xiao Xingyang was split in two by the heavy frenzy saber. Even his godhead was cut open. Xiao Xingyang's soul was obliterated by the saber light, and the Heavenly Sun Sword was taken away by Yi Qinghan. Whoosh! The shattered godhead was caught by the cloud beast and swallowed. Xiao Xingyang's tragic death happened in an instant, and no one could react in time. Yi Qinghan raised his saber and looked down at the heroes. He knew the real battle was about to begin. The divine bird laughed. It seems you don't have the fortune to marry the princess. Xiao Xingyang was killed by my master, so you don't have a share of the 7 despair grass. Wash up and go home. Everyone was furious. Wasn't the divine bird playing with them? Huang Zitian, who had remained gentle for 10,000 years, finally became as cold as ice. He stared at Yi Qinghan and said in a low voice, "You're playing with the heroes of the world. Are you declaring war with us?" Boom! An expert with a crossbow on his back and a spear in his hand pierced the ground. He glared at Yi Qinghan, his face full of muscles. "Boy, are you going to hand over the 7 extremes grass or not?" The man shouted angrily. Tian Jianzi and the others surrounded him, preparing to attack again. The corners of Yi Qinghan's mouth curled up as he said faintly, "I'm not Xiao Xingyang. If you want to surround me, you should be prepared to die." "I would like to give it a try." A tall and sturdy man flew into a rage and slashed at Yi Qinghan with a large saber in his hand. He was also incomparably domineering. Boom! Yi Qinghan raised his hand and fiercely chopped down. This seemingly casual strike actually contained a terrifying power that was enough to split mountains and shatter space. Whoosh! Crack! Yi Qinghan's violent saber landed on the man's saber and broke it instantly. The man didn't have time to dodge and was directly dismembered by the violent saber. The cold saber light shattered his body into pieces, and divine blood splattered on the ground. The saber light illuminated a radius of 1,000 meters, allowing everyone to see the man's tragic death. Some people didn't dare to move because they didn't have divine weapons. That man was a low-level god priest, and being dismembered by Yi Qinghan made Huang Zitian and Tian Jianzi suck in a breath of cold air. Yi Qinghan didn't use any divine abilities. He relied solely on the sharpness of the violent saber and his own explosive power. Yet, he still appeared domineering and arrogant. However, everyone thought that Yi Qinghan didn't know any divine abilities and only had a little brute force. They immediately became confident. Boom! A man wielding a hammer was 3 meters tall. He had the back of a tiger and the waist of a bear, like a giant beast. Apart from his 4 limbs, he didn't look human at all. His pair of hammers were like small mountains. This guy was a famous god of strength in the divine cleansing estate. The hammer in his hand was the heaven-shaking hammer, a low-level top-grade divine weapon. A single hammer could collapse a mountain. Ordinary low-level gods wouldn't dare to fight him head-on. His strongest strike had once killed a top-grade low-level god priest. The divine bird rolled its eyes and looked at the monster-like violent bear. It mocked, "Ugly bastard, you still want to marry the princess? Are you sure the princess can still eat after seeing you? Bastard, I'll hammer you to death." Boom! Violent Bear swung his giant hammer, sweeping up a sand wave. The sand and stones were all turned into fine powder. The experts in the surroundings were blown back, and their facial muscles were distorted. The celestial Qilin roared and retreated. It was actually frightened by Violent Bear's aura. 12th style Thunder God's hammer. Whoosh! Hundreds of purple lightning bolts appeared out of nowhere in the sky. Taking advantage of the night, they flew towards Yi Qinghan. The swift and fierce lightning tore through the mountains and rivers. Yi Qinghan calmly raised his blade towards the sky. The purple lightning bolts were all sucked away by frenzy. The purple lightning didn't cause the slightest ripple when it entered frenzy. Yi Qinghan's body didn't even move. Here you go. Yi Qinghan flipped his blade, and the lightning bolts were strengthened tenfold. He directly blasted them towards Violent Bear. Whoosh! The lightning bolts were 10 times faster than when they came. They directly passed through the Thor's hammer and blasted into Violent Bear's body. Violent Bear's body immediately emitted green smoke. His hair exploded, and his divine body was fried. Cough, 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 Violent Bear coughed, and green smoke came out of his mouth. The Thor's hammer in his hand fell to the ground. He looked at Yi Qinghan in shock. You! Violent Bear couldn't accept this. He was only halfway through his attack. The lightning bolts had just been released, and before the Thor's hammer could hit his opponent, they were absorbed by Yi Qinghan. Instead, they attacked him. This was the worst loss he had ever suffered. Yi Qinghan didn't even move a single step. He looked down at Violent Bear and warned him coldly, "You won't have a third chance to attack." There wasn't a third chance to attack. Clearly, Yi Qinghan told him that if he dared to attack again, Yi Qinghan would kill him completely. He wouldn't even have the chance to resist. Yi Qinghan would kill him in one move. Violent Bear looked at Yi Qinghan's cold glint and was shocked. He didn't dare to attack again. He carried the Thor's hammer and fled into the distance. Violent Bear wasn't an expert, but his strength was indeed the strongest. He used the Thor's hammer and the Thor's technique. Unfortunately, he still couldn't block Yi Qinghan's move. Yi Qinghan even had the chance to kill him in one move. One had to admit that Yi Qinghan was indeed powerful. Yi Qinghan looked down at the crowd like a god of war looking at mortals. He didn't put them in his eyes at all. All of you can come at me together. I want to see if you have the ability to snatch my 7 extinction grass. Yi Qinghan shouted domineeringly. Everyone's mouth twitched. They were furious, and their self-esteem was provoked. Why do we need to attack together to kill you? I'll kill you. The Divine Dragon County's Divine Dragon Warrior stepped forward with the dragon saber in his hand. The saber flashed, and dragon energy surged. His battle intent soared. Da-da-da. The divine beast Celestial Qilin charged over. Yi Qinghan swung the heavy berserk and took the initiative to attack. Kill! Yi Qinghan roared in anger. The saber flashed and collided with the Divine Dragon County's divine saber. The divine saber actually blocked the heavy berserk and didn't break. However, the Divine Dragon County's divine saber couldn't block Yi Qinghan's attack and was sent flying. Boom! Puff! The Divine Dragon County's divine saber couldn't block a single move. He flew back 1,000 meters and crashed into a mountain. His divine body exploded, and he coughed out blood and fainted. Chapter 538. Yi Qinghan's saber and white horse stood proudly in front of the crowd, sending 2 experts flying. Tian Jianzi and Huang Zai-Tian looked at each other and secretly nodded. The 2 of them suddenly attacked Yi Qinghan from the left and right. Kill! Xiao! Boom! Tian Jianzi's Tianshan sword pierced through the void and attacked from the left. Huang Zai-Tian mobilized his divine power and exploded with all his strength, directly piercing through the void and restraining Yi Qinghan from the right. His powerful divine arts, supported by the 2 geniuses, were incredibly powerful. Sword Dao, my peak, slay all heroes! Roar! Great boundless heaven collapsing palm! Boom boom boom! Hua hua hua! Suddenly, the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. The night was as bright as day, revealing the faces of all the heroes. Sovereign God Xian's hands and feet turned cold as he watched. These people were all top-notch experts under the Mu Shen manner, dominating a region. There were a total of 35 of them, and there were also more than 20 disciples from the Mu family academy. They were all existences that surpassed him. Violent attack. The world submits. Yi Qinghan's tyrannical aura soared into the sky. He stepped on his horse and slashed at Tianjianzi's heavenly deity sword. He raised his leg and kicked at Huang Zitian. He was so powerful that he didn't need any defense. The best defense was to directly suppress the two, making them unable to resist. Boom! Tianjianzi forcefully clashed with Yi Qinghan. The divine sword and saber clashed. The divine sword vibrated at a rapid frequency, causing the bones in Tianjianzi's hand to shatter. The vast and boundless power crushed his powerful body with an unstoppable force. Pooh! Tianjianzi felt that his sword had collided with the stone tablet outside Divine Mu residence. It was so indestructible. Yi Qinghan's tyrannical aura was like Lu Zhantian's when he was young. A single spear strike had caused him to vomit blood. Even now, he was still vomiting blood and was sent flying. Ah! This is impossible! Tianjianzi screamed as he was sent flying dozens of li away. Pung! Just as everyone was looking at Tianjianzi, Yi Qinghan kicked Huang Zitian's palm. His terrifying divine body exploded with several million jin of strength, sending Huang Zitian flying. The powerful great boundless heaven collapsing palm couldn't block Yi Qinghan's powerful kick. Get lost! After sending Huang Zitian flying, Yi Qinghan's leg kicked horizontally and smashed toward Zitian's head. Huang Zitian couldn't dodge in time, and could only wave his right arm to block. With a cracking sound, Huang Zitian's right arm was broken. Huang Zitian fell from the sky and let out a miserable shriek. Before he could even stabilize himself, the celestial Qilin raised its leg and kicked him in the chest. This kick almost caused him to lose his breath. He coughed out a large mouthful of essence blood and fell backwards. He was in an even more miserable state than Huang Zitian. Two great experts, third and fourth in the younger generation, couldn't even last a single move from Yi Qinghan. This caused the group of Mu Residence's disciples to be shocked. Their faces turned pale as they retreated. How would they dare to attack Yi Qinghan again? Who else? Hua! Yi Qinghan's figure flashed as he sat on the back of the celestial Qilin. His long blade trembled as he asked coldly. Even an overlord wasn't so domineering. With a roar, no one dared to make a sound. However, they weren't willing to give up, especially the Mu Residence's disciples. They had offended Yi Qinghan this time, and they all wanted to kill him. However, no one wanted to take the lead to surround and kill him. Buzz buzz buzz, Emperor Yi flew out of the western gorge mountain like a peerless god. The tip of his foot tapped on Yi Qinghan's shoulder as he and the cloud beast each took half of the mountain. Master, should we counterattack and kill all of them? My Kuang sect is lacking divinity. Emperor Yi didn't hide his killing intent as he said crisply. Meow meow meow. The cloud beast raised its little paw to show its approval. When everyone heard this, they were shocked. The Kuang sect was surrounded by so many people and didn't want to defend. Emperor Yi, this little girl, actually ran out and wanted to kill all of them? Could it be that this little girl's strength was on par with Yi Qinghan's? If Emperor Yi was also this strong, the two of them could really kill them. Hiss hiss hiss. Roar roar roar. The celestial Qilin raised its front paw and roared arrogantly, provoking everyone. Cough cough. Tianjianzi crawled up with difficulty and put away his god sword. He looked at Yi Qinghan with shock and anger, as if he had seen a ghost. Who are you? Tianjianzi didn't believe that Yi Qinghan came from a small realm. He didn't even need to use a single divine ability to send him flying with brute force. Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan replied coldly, I'll give you 10 more breath. If you're still in front of me, don't blame me for being merciless. It wasn't that Yi Qinghan didn't want to kill them, but these people's identities were too special. If he killed them all, the Mu Shen estate wouldn't let him go. As for Xiao Xingyang, his death was due to everyone's contribution. Everyone gasped and felt goosebump. They looked at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi and hurriedly retreated a few thousand meters. They looked at each other, not knowing what to do. What should we do? Tian Jianzi was furious. In his life, he had only lost twice. The first time was to Lu Zhantian, and the second time was to Long Feitian. However, this time, he lost to a nameless junior. He couldn't accept it. Attack together. He hasn't used a divine ability until now. It's clear that he doesn't have one. Take this opportunity to kill him. Otherwise, when he learns a divine ability, Lu Zhantian and Long Feitian won't be a match for him. It'll be even harder for us to look at his back. A powerful county god said in a deep voice. Huang Zitian shook his broken wrist in silence. He stared coldly at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. Many people wanted to kill him but didn't dare. They only wanted to instigate others to do it. There were even some old foxes who mocked the Mu clan students. They hoped that they would besiege Yi Qinghan and severely injure him so that they could reap the benefit. Didn't the Mu clan students say that they were the strongest in the younger generation of the Mu Shen estate? Why have they become soft persimmons now? A middle-aged county god sneered coldly. Ha ha ha, only Long Feitian can be considered a true genius in the Mu clan academy. The others are just trash. Another county god mocked. The Mu clan students were so angry that their faces turned green. Huang Zitian and Tian Jianzi couldn't stand such ridicule. They immediately mocked back. You're all county gods, but you don't have the guts. Do you only know how to use your filthy mouth to disgust others? Huang Zitian and I at least dared to attack. What about you guys? Who dares to test us? The overlords and county gods were instantly enraged. They were ready to fight with Tian Jianzi and the others. Yi Qinghan sneered. These good-for-nothings were nothing to him. However, he was still vigilant. Now that these people were here, there would definitely be more powerful people coming to snatch the Seven Extremes grass. Therefore, he and Ren Huangyi slowly retreated to the outskirts of the Western Gorge, blocking the wild sect. The experts in the insane sect were all breaking through. They couldn't be disturbed. However, on this night, other than these people, no one else came to fight. The real experts of the older generation were mostly middle-level gods. The rest were not as good as the elites of the younger generation. Although they knew that they couldn't snatch the grass, they were still at ease. The sky gradually brightened. Tian Jianzi and the others saw that they had lost their chance. They immediately retreated and waited for the people from the Mu Shen estate to come. Less than an hour before dawn, a dragon soared and descended outside of the Western Gorge. Its powerful and domineering aura intimidated everyone. It was like a killing god from hell. It's Lu Zhantian. Tian Jianzi took a deep breath and looked at the slowly descending Lu Zhantian. Suddenly, his body trembled. He knew that he had lost his chance today. Chapter 539. The dragon spiraled and slowly descended. Although it wasn't a real divine dragon, it had the bloodline of a dragon, a bit higher than the 7 demise serpents. Lu Zhantian was clad in armor and wielding a spear. He spent a day and a night chasing after the stars and the moon. Finally, he arrived at Western Gorge Mountain before the official experts of the Divine Mushan Prefecture arrived. At this moment, he saw the mess of Western Gorge Mountain and the bloodstains everywhere. Then, he saw Yi Qinghan's fighting spirit soaring. Emperor Yi, who was on her shoulder, was as ethereal as an immortal. Regardless of whether it was appearance or temperament, Yi Qinghan couldn't help but be surprised. Seems like the 7 demise grass wasn't stolen. Lu Zhantian's voice was deep and vigorous, filled with the explosive power of a soldier. Dao friend also came for the 7 demise grass? Yi Qinghan clenched his spear with a cold glint. He knew that this person was a true supreme existence, not inferior to him. If he used his divine arts, Lu Zhantian would win for sure. Yes. You are Yi Qinghan? Lu Zhantian emitted a powerful aura. On the battlefield, he was a war god, an invincible war god. His aura rose and suppressed Yi Qinghan. He ignored the students of the Mu prefecture and the overlord of a region, but they didn't dare to show any dissatisfaction. Correct. And who are you? Yi Qinghan didn't show any weakness and erupted with a powerful aura. His dragon blood boiled as he suppressed Lu Zhantian. The two didn't make a move, but their auras were already suppressing each other. A smokeless battle had begun. You are the first person in the entire Divine Mu prefecture who doesn't know me, Lu Zhantian. Lu Zhantian stood on the dragon's head with his clothes fluttering in the wind. His domineering and arrogant aura couldn't disgust others, as if he was born this way. Lu Zhantian and Long Feitian were known as the two heroes of the Mu prefecture. Lu Zhantian represented the military, while Long Feitian had already entered the Tian-Ke Divine Academy. Long Feitian represented the peak of an era. Divine Sovereign Xian saw Lu Zhantian and immediately trembled. She ran out from Western Gorge Mountain and respectfully bowed. This official from Xian Yu County greets Vice Domain Chief. There's no need to be so courteous. I'm here for personal matters. Lu Zhantian nodded as his hoarse voice slowly sounded. Yi Qinghan saw that although Lu Zhantian was domineering and arrogant, he didn't have any hostility. Thus, he didn't say anything to provoke him. Instead, he quietly waited for Lu Zhantian to get to the point. Sure enough, Lu Zhantian was eager to get the 7 Extremes grass, so he said, "Fellow Taoist Yi, can you sell the 7 Extremes grass to me? I'm willing to pay any price." "Sure, as long as the price is satisfactory," Yi Qinghan said calmly. Lu Zhantian was stunned. He didn't expect Yi Qinghan to agree so readily. After all, the 7 Extremes grass was equivalent to marrying a princess. How could Yi Qinghan not be moved at all? 300,000 mid-grade divine crystals, 3 top-grade lesser divine arts, all of which are in the top 100 of the 3,000 divine arts. Sword-breaking technique, Heavenly Dipper 108 Heavenly Slashing Blade technique, 10,000 techniques in one origin technique, and 10 lesser divine sparks containing the essence of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. There's definitely an essence that suits you. If you still think it's not enough, I'll add. Lu Zhantian bid like a madman. He was really going all out to get the 7 Extremes grass. Enough. Yi Qinghan directly interrupted Lu Zhantian's bid. He had his own bottom line and principles. The 7th princess only needed 7 or 8 7 Extremes grass, which was not worth that much. It was just that each of them had their own needs, so there was no need to be so greedy. Moreover, with Lu Zhantian's strength and status, he could have snatched the 7 Extremes grass, but he didn't, which made him worthy of Yi Qinghan's respect. Lu Zhantian's eyes flickered as he looked at Yi Qinghan. There was surprise, satisfaction, and battle intent. "How many 7 Extremes grass do you want?" Yi Qinghan asked. He wasn't looking for the 7 Extremes grass to marry the 7th princess, but for more benefits. Since Lu Zhantian was willing to give it to him, it was normal for him to sell it to Lu Zhantian. "How many do you have?" Lu Zhantian asked. Yi Qinghan faintly smiled and waved his hand, taking out 37 Extremes grass. They were verdant and lush, very perfect, without a trace of damage. Lu Zhantian was excited. With these 7 Extremes grass, the 7th princess's poison would be very easy to detoxify. However, he obviously couldn't buy so many 7 Extremes grass. The things he paid were more than enough to buy 10 7 Extremes grass, but if he wanted to buy 37 Extremes grass, it was a bit far from enough. However, he had to ensure that the 7 Extremes grass would not fall into the hands of others, so as to prevent others from competing with him for credit. He didn't care about credit, but he cared about the seventh princess. So many. Lu Zhantian felt that it was a bit tricky, but he quickly gritted his teeth and said, I want them all, I can increase the price. 37 extremes grass. In addition to the treasures you just mentioned, I will also add a sword Tao Godhead. How about it? Yi Qinghan didn't ask for a sky-high price. If he took it out to auction, it would definitely be much more than what Lu Zhantian offered. Lu Zhantian stared at Yi Qinghan in disbelief. If it was someone else, first of all, they wouldn't sell it to him, and second of all, even if they did, they would ask for an exorbitant price. However, Yi Qinghan actually agreed to sell it, and the price was also very low. He really didn't understand what Yi Qinghan wanted. Could it be that he wanted a favor? Many thanks, I don't have a sword Tao Godhead right now, but I will find one for you as soon as possible. I hope you can give me the 7 extremes grass first. I swear on my military soul that I will give you a sword Tao Godhead within a month. Lu Zhantian stared at Yi Qinghan, afraid that he wouldn't agree. However, Yi Qinghan once again exceeded his expectations and nodded without hesitation. This trust made Lu Zhantian speechless for a moment. Shua. Lu Zhantian threw a yin and yang ring to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan stretched out his hand and caught the heaven and earth ring. He opened it and found that it was indeed as Lu Zhantian had said. Moreover, there were many things inside, especially the divine crystals. They were all of middle grade, extremely pure, and filled with divine energy. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and the 30 stalks of 7 extremes grass were taken away by Lu Zhantian, as if he was afraid that an accident would happen. Lu Zhantian was as excited as a child after obtaining the 7 extremes grass. He carefully put it away, landed on the ground, and put away the demon dragon spirit pet. He cupped his fists and said, Fellow Taoist Yi, many thanks for your kindness today, many thanks for your trust. I, Lu Zhantian, will always repay kindness. I will help you clean up these bastards, and the forces behind them will definitely not cause trouble for you. After Lu Zhantian finished speaking, he turned around and looked at Tian Jianzi and the others. The coldness in his eyes was extremely terrifying. Shua, Tian Jianzi and the others didn't dare to say a word and turned around to flee. The overlords and county gods were so scared that they almost knelt down. How would they dare to fight with Lu Zhantian? Scram. If you dare to make things difficult for Brother Yi in the future, I will lead the army and raise your fiefs. Lu Zhantian coldly snorted, and his killing intent shot out in all directions. He stood there like a god of war, and a single look from him could scare off 100,000 soldiers. The county gods didn't dare to say anything. They nodded and ran away. Yi Qinghan didn't put these people in his eyes. The ones who really affected him were the higher-ups of the Mu Shen estate who betrayed him. Today's battle had probably completely offended the Shao family. Lu Zhantian exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and looked at Yi Qinghan. The more he looked, the more satisfied he was. He couldn't help but cup his fists and say, Fellow Taoist Yi is a dragon among men. Why don't you join the army, expand your territory, and establish a powerful sect? If fellow Taoist is willing, you can join my Steel Dragon army. Once you join, you will be a Chiliarch. You will be directly under my command, and no one will use their power to suppress you. Yi Qinghan shook his head. He didn't know much about the army. His current cultivation was very strong, but he wasn't the strongest among his peers. At least, it was impossible for him to defeat Lu Zhantian. Lu Zhantian frowned and asked, Don't tell me you want to enter the Mu Clan Academy? It's not that I look down on the Mu Clan Academy, but even the Divine Academy only teaches trash. The real elites are born from killing on the battlefield. If you put the Divine Academy's people on the battlefield, it's already not bad if they can survive for 3 to 5 days. Lu Zhantian was full of disdain and contempt for the 3 Divine Academies. In this world, He was probably the only one who dared to say such things about the 3 divine academies and the state academies. Divine Profound felt a chill and pretended not to hear. In fact, the 3 divine academies were like temples in the mortal world. They couldn't be blasphemed by anyone. If Lu Zhantian's words were spread to the outside world, the 3 divine academies would definitely send Supremes to hunt him down. Even the Mu Shun estate wouldn't dare to protect him. Yi Qinghan didn't know that the divine academies couldn't be insulted. He only shrugged and said, "I don't have any thoughts of joining any sect, army, or academy for now. I just want to cultivate in peace and consolidate my realm before making any plans." Lu Zhantian nodded, but he still didn't want to let go of Yi Qinghan, a natural-born soldier. He said, "If Brother Yi Qinghan thinks it through, feel free to come find me. If your rank is too low, I can recommend you to lead an army of 10,000 people." Yi Qinghan smiled and nodded. He was about to speak when he suddenly raised his head and looked at the horizon. 2 figures were approaching at an extremely fast speed. They were even faster than the cloud beasts. It was obvious that they were 2 mid-level divine worshippers. They were the upper echelons of the Mu Shun estate who came to collect the 7 extremes grass. However, Yi Qinghan had already sold the 7-end grass to Lu Zhantian. Even if there was any left, Yi Qinghan didn't plan to sell it. Even if he wanted to sell it, he would have to wait until Lu Zhantian saved Princess Qi. Sure enough, when the 2 saw Lu Zhantian, their faces immediately turned cold. It seemed that they weren't on the same side as Lu Zhantian and the Heavenly Sword Hall behind him. Lu Zhantian also didn't have a good expression. He said coldly, "Left and right inspectors, I've already bought the 7-end grass. You're a step too late." The left and right inspectors, whether it was in terms of battle prowess or merit, could be regarded as unparalleled in the divine cleansing department. They could be compared with Lu Zhantian's father, Lu Jing. However, the one they were protecting was not Lu Zhantian, but Long Fei Tian. They obviously didn't want Lu Zhantian to obtain the 7 extremes grass. When they heard that the 7 extremes grass was sold to him by Yi Qinghan, they immediately flew into a rage. They couldn't take action against Lu Zhantian, but they could vent their anger on Yi Qinghan. Boom! Their eyes contained a terrifying will as they directly attacked Yi Qinghan's soul. The left inspector angrily shouted, "Brat, you dare to sell more than 1 item? This old man will kill you!" Wang Wang Wang! Ren Huangyi suddenly plucked the strings of his guqin, activating the zither's heavenly melody and harmonizing the ruthless soul-killing technique that the 2 inspectors had unleashed. Yi Qinghan and Ren Huangyi remained motionless as they stared straight at the 2 powerhouses. Chapter 540. A medium god priest's will alone was enough to kill a lower god priest's soul, especially a powerful soul-type priest. However, Emperor Yi had the heavenly soul godhead. His soul was not inferior to a medium god priest's, even surpassing Lu Zhantian's. With the help of the Emperor's zither, he instantly shattered the left inspector's attack. The left and right inspectors were stunned. They didn't expect that their furious attack would be repelled by a little girl. Lu Zhantian was even more stunned. He originally thought that Yi Qinghan was already very strong, but little did he know that Emperor Ye's soul was even stronger than his. He secretly thought, "Are these 2 freaks? Could this little girl be Yi Qinghan's dual cultivation partner? No wonder he doesn't care about marrying the 7th princess." Yi Qinghan glared at the 2 inspectors and coldly said, "I didn't sell more than 1 item. It was your own people who sold the information. So many experts came to fight for the 7 extremes grass. You can't blame others for the evil you brought upon yourself. Besides, I haven't completed the transaction with the Mu Shun estate. What qualifications do you have to criticize me?" Roar! Lu Zhantian suddenly erupted. He coiled up the dragon and blocked the path between Yi Qinghan and the 2 inspectors. His battle intent was almost heaven-defying. He could actually reverse time and space with a wave of his hand. Inspectors, I suggest that you go back and investigate who sent so many people to fight for the Seven Extremes grass. This matter can be big or small. If those people destroyed the Seven Extremes grass while fighting for it, who will cure the poison in Little Seven's body? Those higher-ups of the Mushin estate who leaked the information really deserve to die. It's obvious that you don't care about Little Seven's life. If you don't investigate, I'll definitely report this to the manor head when I get back. As the manor head's right-hand man, how can you be any different from trash if you don't do your job? Lu Zhantian held his spear and looked down on the two intermediate gods, not giving them any face. On the battlefield, he was a god, the one and only god. The two inspectors immediately flew into a rage. Up until now, only the estate lord dared to reprimand them. Even Long Fei Tian had to respectfully address them as uncle. Lu Zhantian, how dare you? Although you belong to the military, your position is still below ours. You dare to offend your superiors and verbally attack your elders. Today I will sentence you to death. Even your father won't be able to say anything. The left inspector shouted angrily. Then let's try. I don't even give face to my father, let alone you. If I find out that you were behind last night's incident, I will lead an army to raze your mansion to the ground. Lu Zhantian pointed his spear, and his battle intent tore through the sky. Roar! The dragon roared, and the earth cracked. The spiritual beast was used to seeing life and death, and it was as unyielding as its master. It was much stronger than the divine bird. At the very least, it would not change its rudder according to the wind. Boom! Yi Qinghan stepped on the celestial qilin and stepped into the void. The god-slaying eagle transformed into armor and a pair of giant wings grew out of his back. He flapped the sky and stirred up waves of sand. He stood beside Lu Zhantian and had the intention of joining forces to fight the middle-level god-priest. Lu Zhantian slowly looked at Yi Qinghan. He didn't expect him to also have the will to fight the middle-level god-priest. He couldn't help but nod. The two inspectors' expressions became colder and colder, and their killing intent became heavier. They didn't dare to kill the deputy commander of the military, but they dared to kill Yi Qinghan, who had no background at all. Yi Qinghan, you have already sent a message to the divine cleansing estate. You should sell the Seven Extremes grass to us. We have already brought the sword Tao Godhead. What do you mean by going back on your words? Do you not put my divine cleansing estate in your eyes? The right inspector's vigorous face revealed a trace of killing intent. He looked like a middle-aged man in his 30s, but in reality, he had experienced tens of thousands of years of war. He had joined forces with the divine cleansing estate's estate lord to conquer this vast territory. Lu Zhantian looked at the sword Tao Godhead and couldn't help but stare deeply at Yi Qinghan. The price of this sword Tao Godhead was much higher than the price he offered. He really couldn't understand why Yi Qinghan would rather offend the divine cleansing estate and sell the Seven Extremes grass to him without hesitation. Are you afraid that I will snatch it? Yi Qinghan alone can fight with me for several days. The little girl on his shoulder can even stand shoulder to shoulder with me. She can completely defeat me. Lu Zhantian couldn't understand what was wrong with Yi Qinghan. He was willing to sacrifice more for less, sacrificing safety for danger. Yi Qinghan sneered and stared at the two inspectors. He said in a hoarse voice, "Other than my own people, only the Mushin estate knows about the seven-end grass. But last night dozens of forces came to fight for it. If it wasn't for my strength, I'm afraid my wild sect would have been razed to the ground. This credit obviously belongs to the higher-ups of the Mushin estate. I will never forget it. I have never cooperated with people who betray me. The villains who went back on their words should be some people in the Mushin estate. Why are you questioning me instead of investigating the vermin? Why are you questioning me?" The two inspectors couldn't find an excuse to attack Yi Qinghan. If Lu Zhantian didn't make a move, they could forcefully suppress him. But if Lu Zhantian made a move, they would have to suppress him as well. Suppressing the vice commander of the military was equivalent to offending the military. The divine cleansing estate wasn't a monolithic block. The military protected Lu Zhantian, the inspectors protected Long Feitian, and a large number of people were backed by the group of people from last night. In short, the divine cleansing estate's forces were very chaotic. Even the inspectors couldn't cover the sky with one hand. But looking at Lu Zhantian's expression, it was obvious that he wanted to interfere. Patrol envoys, Yi Qinghan is already a member of our military. You better think carefully before doing anything. I also want to seek justice for him. I want to know who sold the news of the 7 Extremes grass to the public and who sold it to. I'm sure the Manor Lord wants to know too. Lu Zhantian said angrily. The expressions of the two patrol envoys changed. The upper echelons of the Divine Mushan Prefecture were deeply entangled. Almost all of them were fighting and colluding with each other. Once the prefecture lord personally investigated this matter, no one would benefit from it, including Heavenly Sword Hall's Lu Jing. Go back and ask your father before making a decision. How can a child like you understand the internal affairs of the divine cleansing estate? Don't stir up a huge mess just for a moment of pleasure. The left inspector warned indifferently. The two inspectors stared at Yi Qinghan and turned to leave. Yi Qinghan was helpless. Offending the two inspectors today was equivalent to offending half of the divine cleansing estate. It seemed that he could only rely on the military. In fact, joining the military wasn't necessarily a bad thing. Just as Lu Zhantian said, the students cultivated by the 3 major academies were only trash. The real experts were all slaughtered on the battlefield. If the students of the 3 major academies were dragged to the battlefield, very few of them could survive for more than 3 days. Lu Zhantian watched the two inspectors leave before he turned to Yi Qinghan. He bowed and said gratefully, "Fellow Taoist Yi, I, Lu Zhantian, owe you a great favor. I will definitely repay you in the future. This is the token of the vice commander of the Iron Dragon Army. Seeing it is the same as seeing me. It can control our 10,000 men commanders. But the most important thing is that this token can prevent the divine cleansing estate from attacking you. Attacking you with this token is equivalent to attacking the military. Our Iron Dragon Army is the trump card of the military. They won't dare to act recklessly." Yi Qinghan didn't stand on ceremony and directly took the token. He knew that today's operation didn't fail. Lu Zhantian was indeed a trustworthy person. Chapter 541. After Lu Zhantian left, Yi Qinghan returned to the insane sect. He was exhausted after a night of fighting. Xianyue County fell into a dead silence. The county, which had been mediocre for many years, was once again in the eye of the storm because of Yi Qinghan's participation. Divine Lord Xian did not know whether to be happy or sad. Yi Qinghan had offended the left and right inspectors of the Divine Mu residence, but he had become good friends with Lu Zhantian. The inspectors represented the government, while Lu Zhantian represented the most powerful and powerful military. There were pros and cons to both. The insane sect was as silent as a dead mountain. The news that the 7 Extremes grass had been delivered to the Divine Mu residence had spread to the Xianyue Mountains. The news of Yi Qinghan defeating all the experts in one night had also spread. A large number of experts began to return. No one dared to act recklessly when they passed by the Western Gorge Mountain. The Blood Moon Guards took a piece of low-grade divine crystal and handed it over obediently. 1 piece per person was not much, but when accumulated, it was equivalent to the total savings of the Xianyue County over the years. In a whole month, more than 100,000 people had left the Xianyue Mountains, which was equivalent to 100,000 low-grade divine crystals. Even if some adventurers could not afford it, the Blood Moon Guards did not want to make things difficult for them. After all, those were poor disciples who went in purely to try their luck. It was already a great fortune for them to come back alive. With the support of these divine crystals and top-grade spiritual crystals, the outer sect developed rapidly. A large number of elites joined and Zfei was in charge of the outer sect. The others all entered seclusion. Many experts in the inner sect broke through the divine priest realm and officially became lower divine priests. The insane sect was suddenly filled with experts. There were no less than 20 of them in the divine priest realm. However, Gu Qingyu was still stuck in the sovereign realm. It was not easy to condense the sword Tao Godhead. After a night of fighting, Yi Qinghan knew the importance of divine powers. He began to cultivate the gold origin divine powers. Among the 3 divine powers he obtained from Lu Zhantian, the sword-breaking technique was obviously not suitable for him. He threw it to Xia Qiue and let the sword cultivators of the insane sect cultivate it together. The Heavenly Dipper 108 Heaven slashing saber technique was a saber technique that was unrestrained and domineering. The person who could use this saber technique was definitely a commander of an army. The person who created this saber technique was probably either a manor lord or an extremely powerful divine priest. Yi Qinghan watched the evolution of the saber technique hungrily. The tiny figure in his sea of consciousness began to cultivate as well. The saber technique suited him very well. Just its domineering aura was something that many people would never be able to learn in their entire life. Therefore, when choosing a mystic technique, it would be easy to cultivate if one chose the right one. If one chose the wrong one, they would never be able to make a breakthrough in their entire life. The tiny person in the sea of consciousness became faster and faster. The blade aura shook the sea of bitterness. His divine power pierced through the firmament. His imposing manner was overwhelming. Boom! Boom! Yi Qinghan could not help but dance as well. His saber will shattered the void. Hum hum hum! Swish! 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 108 sabers. Each saber consumed more divine power than the previous. Many people's battle intent grew stronger and stronger. If they reached the peak without making a breakthrough, it would be very difficult for them to release the next saber strike. Yi Qinghan slashed out more than 50 times in a row, but the god force in his body was completely exhausted. His 3 godheads couldn't even withstand 60 slashes, and even his battle intent had reached that level. From this, one could see how terrifying the requirements of this kind of saber art were. Good saber technique. Yi Qinghan could not help but sigh. If he wanted to cultivate this saber technique to the peak, he would have to condense 5 godheads or even more. Boom! Yi Qinghan casually slashed out and directly severed a mountain range. The surrounding area was filled with ravines that were split by the saber aura. The Heavenly Dipper energy filled the entire body. When attacking the enemy, it could also be used to defend oneself. It was simply the strongest divine ability for charging and breaking through enemy lines. Yi Qinghan was excited. This Lu Zhantian had given him an excellent divine ability. With just these 108 saber strikes, even if he could only release 50 saber strikes, he would be able to sweep through a large number of lesser gods. If he could release more than 100 saber strikes, it would not be impossible for him to fight against an intermediate god. Medusa could not help but smile when she saw Yi Qinghan's battle prowess growing stronger. It seemed like Yi Qinghan had gained a firm foothold in the mythical plane. The prerequisite was that the divine cleansing manners master did not make things difficult for Yi Qinghan. The star-twining vine coiled around the intermediate water godhead. It had been a month since it absorbed the godhead. The vine was verdant and lush, as if it could be broken with a flick of a finger. After a month of trying to break through, the star-twining vine finally accumulated enough energy and successfully entered the realm of a lesser god. It devoured all the divine power in the divine spark of an intermediate deity. Countless vines coiled around the sky and stabbed in all directions in search of food. Hunger made it lose its mind. Emperor Yi hurriedly threw out large amounts of divine herbs and divine crystals, afraid that it would hurt his own people. The biggest flaw of raising a star-twining vine was that it would be so hungry that it would want to kill its master the instant it broke through. As long as it was in its sight, it would devour everything. It was only a lesser god now, so the food it needed was still sufficient. But when it broke through to an intermediate god, it would be able to devour an entire prefecture. Ordinary people would not be able to raise it at all. The food in Emperor Ye's universe ring was instantly devoured by the star-twining vine, but it was still not enough. The divine bird cursed loudly. This glutton was simply asking for his life. The celestial Qilin was also dissatisfied. Its treasures were all eaten by the star-twining vine. The star-twining vine was still rational. It waved its vines and asked Emperor Yi for more food. Yi Qinghan rushed back. Seeing that the star-twining vine was about to go crazy, he immediately grabbed it and rushed toward the Mystic Moon Mountain Range. There were many creatures in the Mystic Moon Mountain Range, and the energy it contained was also sufficient. But now they had all become food for the star-twining vine. Countless vines pierced through the mountain range and directly pierced into the bodies of the beasts. Even the divine beasts in the realm of gods were sucked clean by the star-twining vine. A large number of beasts fled, and the Mystic Moon Mountain Range was in chaos. Countless divine beasts in the Mystic Moon Mountain Range were attracted. They roared angrily, wanting to kill the star-twining vine. Yi Qinghan took the lead and rushed over. His saber techniques were swift and fierce. He directly broke the bones of the beasts and threw them into the mouth of the star-twining vine. Whoosh! Whoosh! The star-twining vine danced wildly, and even the birds flying in the clouds were unable to break free from it. Screech! The birds screeched miserably and flipped around, trying to break free from the star-twining vine's grasp. Unfortunately, the star-twining vine's strength was even greater than Yi Qinghan's. As long as they were entangled, they could forget about escaping. Wherever the star-twining vine passed, everything turned into ruins. It had gone crazy from hunger. Other than eating plants, it did not even let off a young beast. Within 1,000 miles, not a single bird remained. In the end, even the powerful divine beasts in the Mystic Moon Mountain Range fled into the depth. Yi Qinghan did not feel happy at all. He suddenly regretted raising such a spiritual plant. If this thing broke through to the intermediate god realm, it would instantly suck him dry. It seems that I really have to go to the battlefield. Only the bodies of countless experts on the battlefield can feed it. Yi Qinghan lowered his head and thought for a while. He decided to join the Steel Dragon army. After a day and a night, the star-twining vine had eaten its fill. It was satisfied and followed Yi Qinghan back to the eccentric sect. On the second day, Yi Qinghan was practicing the heaven-slashing 108 celestial spirits saber technique. Suddenly, a low voice came from outside the sect protection formation. It shook the people in the eccentric sect until their faces turned pale. "There's an expert." Yi Qinghan was shocked. He walked out of the eccentric sect with his saber in hand. He saw a white-haired old man standing beside Divine Lord Xian. He was definitely an extremely powerful existence, a middle-rank Mystic Moon Mountain Range god, enough to establish a sect. "Junior Yi Qinghan greets Senior." Yi Qinghan bowed and said, "Well, there's no need to stand on ceremony. You are indeed a dragon among men. No wonder the arrogant Lu Zhantian admires you so much. You are really powerful." The old man stared at Yi Qinghan and frowned slightly. He realized that he could not see through Yi Qinghan's godhead. He could not sense Yi Qinghan's attribute. "Senior, you flatter me. Brother Lu's combat power is really powerful." Yi Qinghan replied modestly, "You're overpraising me. This old man knows that to be able to defeat dozens of experts and force back nearly 100 experts in one night, only you, Lu Zhan Tian, and Long Fei Tian can do it. The old man said indifferently. Yi Qinghan looked at the old man and glanced at Divine Lord Xian. He realized that he was so respectful that he did not dare to give any hint. He did not understand the old man's identity and purpose. "Senior, may I know what you are looking for me for?" Yi Qinghan asked respectfully. "I am the chief steward of the Divine Mu estate. The estate master is investigating the leak of the 7 Extremes grass. He needs you to cooperate with the investigation," the old man said. Yi Qinghan finally understood that the estate master was personally investigating the leak of the news. No wonder those people did not come for revenge recently. They could not even protect themselves. "Don't worry. The estate master is full of praise for you protecting the 7 Extremes grass and saving the princess. He will not make things difficult for you and will even reward you. Follow me back to the estate and testify against those who participated in the battle," the old man continued. Yi Qinghan was silent for a moment. It was obviously not a good thing to testify against those people at this time. The estate master would at most punish some insignificant people. As for the real mastermind, he would only give a warning. He had offended these people. However, the estate master had personally ordered him to testify. Now that the chief steward of the Divine Mu estate had personally come, he could not refuse. "Senior, please wait for a moment. I will go in and pack up." Yi Qinghan bowed and said. The old man nodded and signaled Divine Lord Xian to follow him. In the sect, Yi Qinghan looked directly at Divine Lord Xian. He knew nothing about the power of the Divine Mu estate and needed Divine Lord Xian to explain. Divine Lord Xian was sweating profusely. Signing an eternal covenant with Yi Qinghan was like dancing on the edge of a knife. It could be broken at any time. "Don't you have anything to tell me?" Yi Qinghan asked coldly. Divine Lord Xian smiled bitterly and immediately said, "This chief steward is only responsible to the estate master. He will not take sides, so you don't have to worry about him making things difficult for you. However, you are entering the estate as a witness. There are some people you must not testify against, otherwise. Who can I not testify against?" Yi Qinghan asked coldly. "Mu Xin Prefecture, Mu Qin Prefecture, and Mu Wang Prefecture. The 3 prefecture gods, Huang Zitian, the students of the Mu Academy, and Tian Jianzi. They are either very close to the estate master or are people that even the estate master does not want to offend. For example, the Mu Academy has to give face to the Tian Ke Academy. Even if you testify against them, the estate master will not punish you severely." Chapter 542. The Divine Mu estate had a territory of several billion square kilometers. The estate was located in the Divine Mu city. The city was vast and boundless. The Divine Mu Academy and all the top powers were located in this city. The power structure of the Divine Mu estate was complicated. Even the inner palace was divided into several factions. Although they were all loyal to the estate master, the internal conflicts were very fierce. For example, the military and the government had their own supporters. They all hoped that the person they were loyal to would rise to the top. After all, the estate master couldn't be alone for his entire life. At this moment, Lu Zhan Tian was coldly looking at everyone. He didn't even give Lu Jing face and almost went against the estate master. The estate master looked like a 40 to 50 years old middle-aged man. His eyes were filled with vicissitudes of life. He looked very handsome and had experienced many bloody battles. He had the steel-like aura of a soldier. He was awe-inspiring without being angry. When he was young, he must have been a divine existence. Lu Jing frowned and looked at Lu Zhan Tian. He didn't expect him to be so unyielding. He was no different from himself when he was young. Lord Estate Master, I came here today to ask two things. First, is the bounty you issued still valid? Second, there are so many people in the estate who didn't put little Seven's life in their eyes. Will they be punished? Lu Zhantian angrily asked. Zhantian, why is your temperament the same as your father's? I didn't say it doesn't count, nor did I say I won't punish them. I'm only waiting for Yi Qinghan to come and testify. The estate master shook his head and said. The main hall was dazzling with 9 dragons coiled around it. It was very majestic and intimidating. There were hundreds of experts kneeling below the main hall. Those who participated in the assassination of Yi Qinghan that day were all here. The 3 county gods, Tianjianzi, and the Mu Estate's disciples were all here. Huang Zitian didn't kneel, and only stood there respectfully. There were also some higher-ups of the divine Mu Estate who were behind those people. Lu Zhantian glanced at these people and coldly said, Those who don't put little Seven's life in their eyes are all my enemies. When dealing with my enemies, I have always killed them. I'm already tolerating it by letting you handle it. Besides, that **** saw them appear outside Shisha Mountain with her own eyes. Why would I need Yi Qinghan to testify? Lu Zhantian, you saw us outside Shisha Mountain, but you didn't see us attacking Yi Qinghan, nor did you see us fighting for the 7 Extremes grass. Why are you so sure that we participated in the fight for the 7 Extremes grass? The 3 prefectural gods questioned in unison. Then what were the 3 of you doing outside the Western Gorge Mountain? Don't tell me it's to protect Xixia Mountain. Lu Zhantian retorted. That's because of the chief's reward. We also want to look for it. Chieftain is more impatient than you. Others are working hard to find the 7 despair grass, but you're buying it for a small price. The princess of Mushan Prefecture sneered. Bullshit. Since when did I force you to buy and sell? Mu Xingshi, speak clearly. If you can't find evidence, I'll stab you to death with my spear. Lu Zhantian roared. Boom. Lu Zhantian's aura erupted and directly sent Mu Xingshi flying. If they weren't in the main hall of the divine Mu Estate, he would have definitely taken action. Stop. What do you think this place is? This is the main hall of the divine Mu Estate. It has been passed down for hundreds of thousands of years. No one has ever dared to fight here. The chief stood up and glared at the 2. Mu Xingshi was almost scared to death. Lu Zhantian's face darkened. He took a deep breath and bowed to apologize. I know I'm wrong. Whether they forced me to buy and sell, and whether they really did snatch the 7 despair grass, we'll know when Yi Qinghan arrives. I won't show any mercy. The chief shouted angrily. The chief glanced at Lu Jing and the others. Only a few people knew about the 7 despair grass, but there were so many people who knew that Yi Qinghan had obtained the 7 despair grass on Xixia Mountain. It seemed that the internal strife had reached a point where it couldn't be stopped. Lu Jing smiled bitterly and lowered his head in silence, waiting for Yi Qinghan to arrive. The chief steward of the divine Mu Estate seemed to be giving divine sovereign Xian some time on purpose. He didn't rush her. After an hour, Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi walked out of the divine Mu Estate. They only brought the cloud beast, the star-twining vine, and the divine bird. The heavenly qilin, the god-slaying eagle, and the multicolored snake were left in the eccentric sect as a precaution. When the chief steward saw Yi Qinghan coming out, he immediately grabbed the 2 of them and flew away. The chief steward was a speed-type expert. His natal godhead was of the wind attribute. His speed was extremely fast. It only took him a day to travel hundreds of millions of miles. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi entered the divine Mu Estate hand in hand. This magnificent palace looked luxurious and glorious, but Yi Qinghan didn't want to come. The divine guards of the divine Mu Estate were all powerful. Even the guards outside the gate were venerable sovereigns. The guards inside the estate were all inferior divine priests, and the team leaders were all inferior divine priests. There were so many experts that no one could invade the divine Mu estate by force. At this moment, the divine Mu estate was filled with a murderous aura. The estate master's aura was so cold that it made people unable to breathe. At this moment, a peerless woman walked into the courtyard. She was so beautiful that words couldn't describe her beauty. Compared to Emperor Yi, she was less lonely and more noble. However, her temperament and beauty were not inferior to Medusa and Emperor Yi. She was indeed a rare beauty. She was the seventh princess. She was very similar to the estate master. She was awe-inspiring and unapproachable. The seventh princess Mu Xiaoqi was wearing a battle robe. She was valiant and heroic like Lu Zhantian. No wonder Lu Zhantian loved her so much. As soon as Mu Xiaoqi appeared in the main hall, she attracted the attention of the crowd. She represented not only beauty but also power. Anyone who got her would instantly gain the estate master's approval. They might even be able to control the army and become an overlord. There was no greed in Lu Zhantian's eyes. Instead, there was unconcealable love. Warmth finally appeared in his cold and dignified eyes. Mu Xiaoqi only smiled at Lu Zhantian. Then, she walked to the estate master and bowed slightly. She said in a crisp voice, "Father, why have you come out of seclusion?" The estate master smiled. He wished he could give her all his gentleness. He shifted his body and gave her half of his seat. He said dotingly, "It's all because of you. Ever since you were poisoned, I haven't had a moment of peace. I almost called your brother back to find the 7 extremes grass for you. Thank you, father. Thank you, brother Zhantian. I've made you worry." Mu Xiaoqi was a little embarrassed. "Yi Qinghan has arrived." A deep voice came from outside the estate. Everyone's expression turned ugly. Even Lu Zhantian was frowning. He wasn't sure if Yi Qinghan would dare to offend so many people under the estate master's awe-inspiring authority. The steward led Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi into the main hall. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. He bowed and cupped his fist. "Junior Yi Qinghan greets Lord Manorhead." "Junior Emperor Yi greets Lord Manorhead." Emperor Yi also bowed. The estate master sat up straight and looked down at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. The two bowed slightly and then looked straight at him. They were neither servile nor overbearing. The man was as handsome as jade, and the woman was as beautiful as a peerless beauty. Both of them surprised the estate master. He thought to himself, no wonder he sold the 7 extremes grass to Lu Zhantian. He didn't want to get involved in this mess. Mu Xiaoqi looked curiously at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. She still didn't know what was going on. Chapter 543. In the main hall, hundreds of people stared at Yi Qinghan at the same time. There were warning looks and killing intent, but there were also people who avoided his gaze, unwilling to look him in the eye. Mu Xiaoqi curiously watched the scene in front of her, somewhat confused. At this time, Lu Zhantian coldly stared at the 3 prefectural gods and asked in a low voice, "Now that Brother Yi is in front of you, you can ask him if I forced a deal?" The 3 prefectural gods didn't utter a word, and were even more unwilling to look Yi Qinghan in the eye. Right now, the person they feared the most was Yi Qinghan. The Manor Lord looked at Yi Qinghan. His deep eyes were like the boundless Milky Way, with no end in sight. No one knew what he was thinking, and no one dared to look him in the eye. "Yi Qinghan, tell this old man, did Lu Zhantian force you to sell the 7 to spare grass?" The prefecture lord asked in a low voice. Yi Qinghan looked at Lu Zhantian and shook his head without hesitation. In reply to Senior, this junior willingly sold the 7 to spare grass to Brother Lu. I didn't force him to sell it. Moreover, if I didn't want to sell it, no one could force me. The prefecture lord frowned and asked in a hoarse voice, "Do you know about the bounty for the 7 to spare grass? Anyone who obtains the 7 to spare grass will have a chance to marry Xiaoqi? They will also obtain an intermediate sword Dao Godhead." I know, Yi Qinghan indifferently replied. At this time, even Mu Xiaoqi was frowning at Yi Qinghan. His attitude clearly showed that he didn't care about Mu Xiaoqi and the Mu clan at all. If you knew, why didn't you keep the 7 despair grass for yourself? If Lu Zhantian didn't threaten you, why would you give up this chance to reach the heavens in a single bound? Just one godhead alone is much higher than the price he offered you. The prefecture lord coldly asked. Yi Qinghan looked into the manor head's eyes and realized that he didn't seem to want Lu Zhantian to marry Mu Xiaoqi. The cold glint in his eyes reminded him to think carefully before speaking. Lu Zhantian also understood the manor lord's intentions and couldn't help but look at Yi Qinghan with unease in his heart. His fate was completely in the hands of Yi Qinghan. Whether or not he could marry Mu Xiaoqi was also in the hands of Yi Qinghan. Mu Xiaoqi was also staring at Yi Qinghan. She wanted to know why Yi Qinghan would give up such a good opportunity to rise to the top in a single bound. Pleasing Lu Zhantian was obviously not as beneficial as pleasing the divine Mushan estate lord and the 7th princess. Yi Qinghan smiled and cupped his fist. The princess is a peerless beauty. 8 or 9 out of 10 men in the world covet her beauty. Who is an exception to this? However, some people approach the princess because they have bad intentions and want to curry favor with the powerful. Some people want to marry the 7th princess because they truly love her. The manor head nodded in agreement with Yi Qinghan's words. Mu Xiaoqi's face turned even redder. Yi Qinghan's words were the most ordinary praise, but they made her feel exceptionally comfortable. Yi Qinghan continued, "The reason why I don't need this reward is firstly because I already have someone in my heart and I don't like to curry favor with the powerful." With that, Yi Qinghan grabbed Emperor Ye's hand, telling everyone that Emperor Yi didn't lose to the 7th princess in terms of looks, talent, and battle prowess. Secondly, although this is the first time Brother Lu and I met, we felt like old friends at first sight. I really admire his way of doing things. He didn't try to take the 7 extremes grass by force like the others, nor did he threaten me. For the 7 extremes grass, he was willing to give up everything. I can see that he truly likes the 7th princess and isn't trying to curry favor with the powerful. As the saying goes, a gentleman doesn't take what others like. Even if he only pays a small price, I'm still willing to sell the 7 extremes grass to him. It has nothing to do with anything else, I'm just doing it willingly. Yi Qinghan cupped his fists and said. Yi Qinghan's words made Lu Zhantian's heart burst with joy. He clenched his fists and wanted nothing more than to rush up and hug Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's words were more effective than 1,000 vows of undying love. Sure enough, the 7th princess's face turned red. She was imagining Lu Zhantian, a man who didn't even know how to say a gentle word on the battlefield, begging Yi Qinghan to sell the 7 extremes grass to him for her sake. Her heart felt warm. Are you really just doing it willingly? The manor head looked down at Yi Qinghan with displeasure in his eyes. He still hoped that Yi Qinghan would change his word. Manor head, please don't judge others by your own standards. May I ask if you have someone you love the most? If the person you love the most is deeply poisoned and is in urgent need of medicinal herbs, and it just so happens that someone has it at that time, will you do everything to buy it? I don't know if you will, but I will. I also hope that that person will sell it to me and not ask for a sky-high price. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. I understand Lu Zhantian's feelings, so I'm willing to sell the 7 extremes grass to him. If I were you, I would be very happy to give the 7th princess to such a man. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. Of course, this will depend on the 7th princess's own wishes and your own wishes. The manor head's gaze was cold. Lu Zhantian wasn't his son after all, even if he was his own nephew. How could he hand over the huge divine Mu estate to him? If he didn't hand it over to him and married the 7th princess to him, How could Long Fei Tian suppress Lu Zhan Tian from the military's Eagle faction in the future? How could Lu Jing not understand the manor head's meaning? He couldn't help but sigh sadly. He knew that Lu Zhan Tian would definitely be disappointed this time. He clearly knew that he had failed, so he didn't want to tell Lu Zhan Tian about the bounty. He didn't want him to lose hope again when he had hope. Unfortunately, he still couldn't prevent today's arrival. Mu Xiaoqi's eyes were a little dazed. She had a hazy love and admiration for Lu Zhan Tian, but she had never thought of marrying him. Now that things had happened so suddenly, she didn't know what to say. She didn't even know if she should refuse or agree. The manor head was furious. He wanted to refuse the bounty, but he couldn't go back on his words openly. He only wanted to pressure Yi Qinghan and force Yi Qinghan to give him a reason. However, Yi Qinghan simply ignored his warning and helped Lu Zhan Tian instead. Manor head, I don't believe that Yi Qinghan and Lu Zhan Tian didn't know each other before. Based on his testimony today, the two clearly knew each other. This is clearly a trap for you. I even suspect that they deliberately framed the seventh princess. The Mukan commandery god said angrily. I second that. I also agree. Manor head, please reconsider. Marrying the princess to a brute who is always fighting outside. If an accident happens, what will happen to the princess in the future? Many of the officials stepped forward to express their opposition to the marriage between Lu Zhan Tian and Mu Xiaoqi. Lu Jing smiled bitterly. If he stood up for Lu Zhan Tian now, the manor head would be even more unwilling to let Mu Xiaoqi marry Lu Zhan Tian. He simply stepped forward and said through gritted teeth, Manor head, my son is indeed not worthy of the seventh princess. Please take back the bounty and reward my son in another way. Only then did the manor head nod in satisfaction. With Lu Zheng's words, he finally had a reasonable excuse to step down. Boom! Lu Zhan Tian fell to his knees and said in a low voice, Manor head, if Xiaoqi is willing to marry me, please grant my wish. If Xiaoqi is unwilling, Zhan Tian is willing to go to the borders and fight for the divine Mu estate. I will never return to the capital. Chapter 544. Lu Zhan Tian's attitude was resolute. He didn't give the manor head a chance to change his mind and threw the crux of the problem to Mu Xiaoqi. Mu Xiaoqi looked at Lu Zhan Tian's serious expression and recalled every little thing that happened between them since their childhood. Just as she was about to reply, she heard the manor head's low-voice transmission, Xiaoqi, you can't agree to this. The Mu estate must maintain balance. Once you marry him, I will definitely transfer him back from the army and make him a comfortable son-in-law. You will affect his career and future. Lu Zhan Tian gazed at Mu Xiaoqi. Seeing the stunned Mu Xiaoqi, there was sadness in his eyes. Yi Qinghan sighed. Even someone as strong as Xin Si couldn't escape the shackles of politics. With the manor head's attitude, Lu Zhan Tian could forget about retreating today. Mu Xiaoqi looked down at Lu Zhan Tian and clenched her robes. After a moment of thought, she whispered, Let me think about it. Lu Zhan Tian slowly stood up and stared at Mu Xiaoqi. He said in a low voice, There's no need to think about anything else. I don't want glory and wealth. You're a man, but you don't even have the slightest fighting spirit. How can I give my daughter to you? The manor head rebuked angrily. Lu Zhan Tian was about to retort, but Yi Qinghan reached out and pressed his shoulder. He shook his head and signaled for him to calm down. He transmitted his voice, Brother Lu, I advise you to take your time. If you force the seventh princess to give you an answer now, it will only end in tragedy. Calm down now. I believe that if the seventh princess really likes you, she will definitely give you time. Lu Zhan Tian's body trembled and his expression darkened. Seeing Mu Xiaoqi's conflicted expression, he couldn't bear to make things difficult for her. He bowed and said, This humble subject has lost his composure. I also don't want to pursue the matter of those people fighting for the 7 extremes grass. I implore the manor head to allow me to leave with Brother Yi. Lu Zheng and the manor head were stunned. They didn't expect that Lu Zhantian wouldn't back down, no matter how much pressure they put on him. Yi Qinghan only made a slight move and he backed down. He even voluntarily gave up pursuing those people's responsibility. They were all curious about what Yi Qinghan said to Lu Zhantian. They didn't believe that Yi Qinghan and Lu Zhantian didn't know each other. Brother Tian, give me some time. I haven't thought about getting married yet, Mu Xiaoqi whispered. I understand. I will return to the battlefield today. Lord Mansion Master, Lord Father, please allow your son to resign. Lu Zhantian took a deep breath and turned around to leave. Wait, you've done a meritorious deed by saving Little Seven. You can leave after you finish the banquet and receive your reward. Seeing that Lu Zhantian had taken the initiative to give in, the manor head's mood finally improved. He wanted to investigate Yi Qinghan's background even more, so he took the initiative to ask him to stay. Obviously, Lu Zhantian didn't want to leave either. After all, if he couldn't open up new territory and successfully step into the realm of a mid-level god priest, he wouldn't have the chance to return to the mansion. The mansion master wouldn't agree, and neither would Lu Jing. However, Yi Qinghan did not wish to remain here. There were many experts here, and it would be beneficial for him to leave as soon as possible. He bowed and said, "Since manor head is fine, this commoner will take his leave. No need. In the end, you were the one who found the 7 despair grass. Zhan Tian gave you that little bit of reward. Let's eat together, and we'll reward you together later." The manor head's eyes flashed. He felt that Yi Qinghan's appearance was a bit strange, and he couldn't see through what attribute Yi Qinghan cultivated. It seemed like he had all 5 elements, but it also seemed like he had far more than that. However, he couldn't discover his godhead, which made him even more curious. "I heard that you defeated all the experts of my Mu Shen estate's younger generation aside from Lu Zhantian and Long Fei Tian in a single night. I really want to see how strong you are. If I'm satisfied, I don't mind taking you in as my last disciple," the manor head said indifferently. Everyone looked at Yi Qinghan with jealousy, especially the students of the Mu Clan Academy. If they could become the manor head's disciple, who would be willing to join the Mu Clan Academy or Divine Academy? Tian Jianzi and the others were unwilling, and they clenched their fists. They wanted to use everything they had to defeat Yi Qinghan and obtain the manor head's attention. Perhaps they could obtain the manor head's favor and reach the heavens in a single step. Lu Zhantian's expression froze, then he reminded, "Brother Yi, becoming the manor head's disciple is definitely better than entering Divine Academy or the army. Why aren't you thanking him?" Yi Qinghan's mouth twitched. He didn't even want to become the 9 remoteness master's disciple, let alone the manor head of the Mu Shen estate. "What? Am I not worthy to be your master?" The manor head saw Yi Qinghan standing there in a daze and immediately asked coldly. Yi Qinghan hurriedly bowed and replied, "If Senior wants to take this commoner as your disciple, it would naturally be my good fortune. However, I already have a master, and without his permission, I don't dare to take another master. Please forgive me." Everyone looked at Yi Qinghan as if they were looking at an idiot. Even Lu Zhantian and Mu Xiaoqi were speechless. It was understandable that he didn't like Mu Xiaoqi. As the saying went, a gentleman wouldn't steal someone else's love. Moreover, he already had a wife, so this was normal. However, to be able to take a manor head as his master was such a terrifying honor. In the entire mythical plane, there were only 56 manors, and 56 manor heads. The manor head clearly didn't expect Yi Qinghan to reject him so straightforwardly. However, the experienced and astute him understood that if Yi Qinghan really had a master, and to be able to make Yi Qinghan so straightforwardly reject his good intentions, then there was only one possibility. That was that Yi Qinghan's master was definitely an existence not inferior to him, or even surpassing him. "Who is your master?" the manor head asked in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan obviously couldn't say that his master was the Lord of the Nine Serenities. First of all, the Nine Serenities and the mythical plane were two completely different planes. No one would believe him if he said it, and it might even cause unnecessary trouble. This commoner's master once warned me that if my cultivation hasn't reached the divine priest realm, I must never mention his name, lest I tarnish his prestige. This lowly one doesn't dare to speak carelessly, please forgive me. Yi Qinghan made up an excuse. Hiss! Lu Zhantian believed Yi Qinghan's words without a doubt. Even if Yi Qinghan didn't reach the realm of divine worship, how terrifying was his master? 3 great divine masters? TSK. Lu Zhantian believed him, but the others didn't. They all sneered, thinking that Yi Qinghan was boasting and lying. Some even started to mock him. The manor head frowned. Others might not have understood Yi Qinghan's words, but he did. Only those who had reached the divine priest realm would be able to catch the eye of Yi Qinghan's master, which meant that Yi Qinghan's master had to be at least a superior divine priest. There were no more than 10 superior divine priests in the entire mythical plane. Other than the 3 great divine masters, the others were so low-key that no one would recognize them if they appeared in front of others. The manor head of the divine Mushan Manor once had the fortune to meet a superior divine priest. That kind of heavenly good fortune was not something he could only look up to. Even if he only took one more look at the derived Tao of the superior divine priest, he would still benefit from it for the rest of his life. The manor head of the divine Mushan Manor doubted Yi Qinghan's words. Not everyone could choose a superior divine priest. With Yi Qinghan's aptitude, it was impossible for a superior divine priest to choose a superior divine priest unless Yi Qinghan had a hidden trump card. If his master is really a superior divine priest, then wouldn't it be my chance? The manor head of the divine Mushan Manor flashed. He had been stuck at the half-step superior divine priest realm for 100,000 years. If he didn't break through now, he would die sooner or later. He wanted to break through all the time, but unfortunately, he didn't have the technique. If he could see a superior divine priest cast the technique again, he might be able to become a superior divine priest. Once he became a superior divine priest, he would be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the divine masters. The manor head looked down at Yi Qinghan and said in a low voice, "In that case, I won't make things difficult for you. However, if you can defeat Lu Zhantian in his peak state, I will allow him to marry Shao Qi. If you can't, their marriage will never be mentioned again." Chapter 545. In order to test Yi Qinghan, the prefecture lord was going all out. He directly used Mu Xiaoqi as a wager. In his opinion, as long as Yi Qinghan was a disciple of a superior god, it would be difficult for him to defeat Lu Zhantian. However, it was not impossible. If he could defeat Lu Zhantian, everything would be fine. Even if he couldn't, he could still find out about Yi Qinghan's background. Yi Qinghan had been dodging, unwilling to make a move. Now that the prefecture lord had taken the initiative to use his ultimate move, Yi Qinghan had no choice but to make a move. Everyone looked at Yi Qinghan and Lu Zhantian as if they were watching a good show. "Zhantian, if you don't use your full strength, don't ever mention marrying Mu Xiaoqi again. If you use your full strength, then pray that Yi Qinghan can defeat you," the prefecture lord warned. Lu Zhantian stared at Yi Qinghan. He had never seen Yi Qinghan fight. Although Yi Qinghan had defeated so many experts, he did not believe in Yi Qinghan's strength. Instead, he hoped that Emperor Yi would make a move. No matter what, Emperor Ye's soul power was indeed stronger than his. Thump, 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 Lu Zhantian's heart was beating wildly. This was his only chance to marry Mu Xiaoqi. There was probably no hope for the prefecture lord to say something like this in front of everyone again. Yi Qinghan did not know Lu Zhantian's cultivation, but to be able to reach the position of vice domain chief, his combat strength was definitely terrifying. Especially at their level, divine abilities were crucial. If Lu Zhantian had a top-notch divine ability, it would be difficult for him to win with just his explosive strength alone. Emperor Yi looked at Yi Qinghan. He knew that Yi Qinghan did not want to reveal his trump cards. Otherwise, the Kuang sect would not be safe. Therefore, he took the initiative to speak. Prefecture Lord, I am Emperor Yi Qinghan's disciple. I think that against Lord Lu, there is no need for my master to make a move. I am enough. The prefecture lord's pupils shrank. Everyone was shocked. This was the first time they had seen such an arrogant girl. Even Mu Xiaoqi did not dare to say that she could defeat Lu Zhantian. Lu Zhantian exhaled. Ren Huangye's initiative was exactly what he wanted. Lu Zhantian's attack was absolutely tyrannical and sharp. If Emperor Yi could not block it, to deal with it, would be severely injured. Can I? Yi Qinghan looked at Emperor Yi and communicated with his divine sense. No problem. Judging from his expression, his soul is indeed weak. His method is the same as yours. He knows that my soul is one with the heavens and men, so there will definitely be flaws. As long as he wants to marry Mu Xiaoqi, I can deal a single blow to him. I only need one move to severely injure him. Emperor Yi smiled. There was no need for sound transmissions at all. The two of them already knew what the other was thinking. Yi Qinghan nodded. He believed in Emperor Yi's strength. The prefecture lord looked at Yi Qinghan and nodded. His eyes narrowed into slits as he stared at Emperor Yi. He said hoarsely, I agree. If you can defeat Lu Zhantian, not only will I agree to their marriage, I will also grant you a small condition. Let's go out and fight. If you can defeat me, I will owe you my life. Lu Zhantian said in a serious tone. He had never wanted to lose so badly in his life. Even if Emperor Yi forced him to kneel, he was willing to do it. As you wish. The heavens don't favor us, but I, Emperor Yi, like to help others fulfill their wishes. Whoosh! Emperor Yi stepped out of the main hall and ascended. He didn't stir up the slightest fluctuation of divine power. It was as if a mortal had ascended. Yi Qinghan followed closely behind, followed by Mu Xiaoqi. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Hundreds of figures followed closely behind. Even the prefecture lord and Lu Zhantian followed. Mu Xiaoqi looked at Yi Qinghan curiously and whispered, Can your disciple win? Do you want her to win? Yi Qinghan asked back. Mu Xiaoqi blushed slightly and nodded. It seemed that she did have feelings for Lu Zhantian, and they weren't shallow. Then she will win, Yi Qinghan said calmly. You guys are so arrogant. Even my brother doesn't dare to say that he can defeat Brother Tian. Your disciple looks at most 1,000 years old. She's about the same as a 10-year-old mortal. How can she defeat Brother Tian? Mu Xiaoqi didn't believe it. Emperor Yi and the god-slaying eagle turned into armor. Their huge wings flapped in the sky, and their divine robes fluttered. The human emperor's guqin floated in the air in front of Emperor Yi. Lu Zhantian was wearing armor and holding a spear. His fighting spirit was soaring. He held the spear tightly with his iron fist and stepped on the dragon. He was like a peerless god of war, looking at Emperor Yi on the same level. Don't be so nervous. I'll let you relax first. I'll give you a piece of carefree lament. Ren Huangyi smiled slightly. His 10 fingers pressed on the strings of the guqin. The heavens and the earth were dead silent. They could only see him playing the guqin continuously, but there was no melody. Many people narrowed their eyes. They could not understand how Ren Huangyi did it. Buzz 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 hum hum hum. Others couldn't hear the music, but Lu Zhantian and the dragon under his feet could hear it. He and his spiritual beast seemed to be soaring in the universe, turning into an idol king standing proudly in the sky. Mu Xiaoqi was right in front of him, waiting for him to come and hold her hand. At this moment, Lu Zhantian didn't think that the battle had already begun, nor was he on guard. He took a deep breath and greedily enjoyed the music. Lu Zhantian wasn't on guard, and the dragon under his feet wasn't on guard either. They were both intoxicated in their own world. The Manor Lord frowned. He saw that Emperor Yi was also intoxicated in his own melody, but he could only hear the vague, carefree lament. He looked at Lu Zheng and the chief steward and realized that they couldn't hear the music. He couldn't help but think, what kind of music is this? I've lived for hundreds of thousands of years. How come I've never heard such a strange song? And how did he make it so that only Lu Zhantian could hear it? I'm sure that there's no one in the superior god temple who uses the guqin. Emperor Yi and Yi Qinghan don't have a direct master-disciple relationship. Have I been tricked? The Manor Lord muttered to himself. He was uncertain. Yi Qinghan smiled. The battle had ended before it even began. Emperor Yi had taken advantage of the situation. Sure enough, before the manor head and the others could even react, Emperor Yi suddenly plucked all the strings of the guqin. The melody suddenly transformed into a blade that rushed into Lu Zhantian's mind and exploded with a loud bang. This attack gathered all of Emperor Yi's strength. It was ruthless, violent, and tyrannical, like a mountain torrent erupting. Boom! Lu Zhantian's soul was directly shattered. His vision turned black, and he almost died. He fell from the dragon's head. Yi Qinghan reached out and caught the unconscious Lu Zhantian. Emperor Yi put away his guqin and looked at the Manor Lord. Senior, I won. Everyone, the Manor Lord, Lu Jing, and the others frowned. Emperor Yi's victory was too strange. He didn't use any secret technique, and he still won. This hasn't started yet. This wild girl used a sneak attack. Many county gods and Mu clan elites were furious. They didn't want to admit the truth, even if Lu Zhantian was almost killed by Emperor Yi's sneak attack. A battle of life and death can start at any time and end at any time. Do I have to tell you that I'm going to kill you before I kill you? Emperor Yi looked coldly at the gods and asked in disdain. This is a competition, not a battle of life and death. Tian Jianzi scolded unwillingly. So you're the weak one. You keep looking for excuses. I believe that the Manor Lord won't think that the battle hasn't started yet, and he won't think that I'm cheating. Because he wants me to win, not win fair and square, Emperor Yi said indifferently. The Manor Lord was speechless by Emperor Yi's words. He didn't have any room to refute. Chapter 546. Outside the Mu residence, Lu Zhantian's defeat was inexplicable and extremely miserable. His soul was heavily injured and he was almost completely dead. Emperor Yi didn't leave any leeway to prevent Lu Zhantian from being too strong and missing the final opportunity to suppress him. Lu Jing immediately panicked when he caught Lu Zhantian. He couldn't feel any signs of life from Lu Zhantian. Emperor Yi had almost killed him in one move. Are you helping him or killing him? Lu Jing glared at Emperor Yi and Yi Qinghan with murderous intent in his eyes. The manor head also noticed that Lu Zhantian was still alive, but his soul didn't fluctuate at all. His expression immediately turned ugly. After all, Lu Zhantian was his nephew. He wanted Mu Xiaoqi to marry Lu Zhantian, but he couldn't let him die. Moreover, Lu Zhantian was the right-hand man of the Divine Mu Residence's military department. He couldn't do without him. Quick, give him a soul-subduing pill. The manor head was also anxious. He took out a golden pill that resembled the color of faith and contained great power. Lu Zheng's hands were trembling. He had always treated Lu Zhantian unfairly. He had just watched his son grow up and didn't even have the chance to enjoy his life before his soul was destroyed by Emperor Yi. He took the soul-subduing pill and threw it into Lu Zhantian's mind. The pill turned into a wisp of golden mist and began to gather the remnant soul. Its power was extraordinary and could almost revive the dead. However, the soul-subduing pill didn't have much of an effect. It couldn't save Lu Zhantian's soul from dissipating. Lu Jing became more and more panicked. Some people also began to take pleasure in his misfortune. Mu Xiaoqi also panicked and rushed over. She had lost her heroic demeanor and her eyes were brimming with tears. "It's all your fault. Why did you make things difficult for Brother Tian? You're all bad people. You sent him to the battlefield when he was young. How old was he then? 10 years old. Now, he's dead. Are you all satisfied?" Mu Xiaoqi roared at the manor head. Emperor Yi and Yi Qinghan's expressions changed slightly. They didn't expect Lu Zhantian to be so infatuated with Mu Xiaoqi that he didn't even have the slightest bit of defense. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been injured to this extent. This was the first time the manor head had been yelled at like this, and it was even his most beloved daughter. He even forgot to get angry. At this moment, even the soul-calming pill couldn't save Lu Zhantian. Only a superior god priest could save him. Offering to a superior god? The prefecture lord hurriedly said to Yi Qinghan, "Yi Qinghan, where is your master? Only your master can save Zhantian now. Didn't you hit it off with him at first sight? Are you going to leave him in the lurch?" Yi Qinghan patted his head and frowned. Did he really have to beg the 9 Serenities' master now? Lu Jing seemed to have found his last straw. He hugged Lu Zhantian and shouted at Yi Qinghan, "Yi Qinghan, you are partly responsible for this. Please save him. If you don't save him, I'll fight you to the death." Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly and said helplessly, "Senior, you know that only he can look for me. It's impossible for me to find him. Moreover, when it comes to saving people, he only cares about his mood. It's useless even if I beg him." The prefecture lord, Lu Jing, and the other experts understood that a superior god priest was a high and mighty god to them. It was like the difference between a mortal and a great emperor. There was no comparison at all. A superior god priest could reverse time and space and change the heavens and earth. They were omnipotent. Emperor Yi looked at Lu Zhantian's deathly pale face. His heart was filled with uncertainty. "Let me try," Emperor Yi said in a low voice. Yi Qinghan's eyes lit up. He could only try everything he could. If it really didn't work, he could only go to the 9 Serenities' master and beg on his knees. "Help me find a separate courtyard. It has to be quiet. Don't let anyone disturb me." Emperor Yi looked at the prefecture lord and said. The prefecture lord really cared about Lu Zhantian's life. He personally led Emperor Yi to a separate courtyard. This was the place where he usually cultivated in seclusion. It was surrounded by mountains and rivers, with swaying divine lotuses. Divine herbs could have turned into great emperors, but they were suppressed by the prefecture lord and became mere decorations. Their fates were even more pitiful than Li Shang's. In the bamboo courtyard there was only a bamboo bed, a bamboo table, and 2 bamboo chairs. There was also a built-in pond with several divine herbs inside. It was the best place to cultivate one's body and mind. Lu Jing placed Lu Zhantian on the bamboo bed with a sad expression. He only had one son in his life, but their relationship was not good. Although he was not good with words, he really loved this son of his. He only hoped that he would grow and become stronger. "Fellow Taoist Emperor Yi, I beg you. He's my last hope," Lu Jing said in a low voice. "Senior, don't worry. I'll do my best. Even if I can't save him, I can at least delay him for 10 or 3 to 5 years. Emperor Yi said, hugging his zither. Lu Jing retreated. Emperor Yi sat cross-legged in front of the bamboo table and played the soul-suppressing melody, Carefree Sigh, over and over again. He took the initiative to help Lu Zhantian cultivate his soul. He even created some illusions about Mu Xiaoqi to stir up Lu Zhantian's desire to live. In the manner, the prefecture lord stared at Yi Qinghan, his fingertips trembling. The mighty prefecture lord didn't dare to look directly at his daughter's soul-stealing eyes. Yi Qinghan, how confident is Emperor Yi that he can save Zhantian? The prefecture lord asked in a low voice. Yi Qinghan pondered for a moment before replying, about 50%. Even if he can't be saved, he can at least temporarily escape death. If it really doesn't work, I'll do my best to contact my master and hope that he can lend a hand. However, I can't guarantee that he'll agree. The prefecture lord took a deep breath. Seeing Yi Qinghan making such a solemn vow, he grew increasingly uncertain. He wasn't sure if Yi Qinghan's master was a high god priest or not, and he didn't dare to offend Yi Qinghan. However, I would like to ask Lord Prefecture Lord, does your promise still stand? Yi Qinghan asked in a low voice. It does. As soon as he wakes up, we can hold the wedding, the prefecture lord replied with certainty. Seeing how resolute Yi Qinghan was, the prefecture lord was willing to take a big gamble. He was willing to bet that Yi Qinghan's master was really a high god priest. If he befriended Yi Qinghan now, he might even be able to meet a high god priest in the future. For the sake of such a small chance, the prefecture lord was willing to give up everything to gamble. From this, one could see how great the temptation of meeting a high god priest was. Yi Qinghan nodded. Right now, the only thing he could pray for was that Emperor Yi would be able to save Lu Zhantian. Counting on the 9 Serenities master was simply unrealistic. For the next 2 days, Yi Qinghan had been particularly quiet. No one came to disturb him, and no one came to curry favor with him. No one knew what the prefecture lord was going to do with Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. When it came to people like Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi, no one dared to get too close to them. A week later, the sound of a zither rang out in the bamboo courtyard. Emperor Yi's zither was filled with gentleness and intoxication. It was unforgettable after listening to it once. Powerful existences like Lu Jing and the prefecture lord rushed to the bamboo courtyard to wait for the result. After playing the zither for a week, Emperor Yi was exhausted. Even his soul couldn't hold on any longer. His face was deathly pale. An hour later, the sound of the zither dissipated. Mu Xiaoqi was the first to rush in. When she saw that Lu Zhantian still didn't have any soul fluctuations, her vision darkened and she almost fainted. Chapter 547. In the bamboo courtyard, the atmosphere was stifling. Lu Jing was in despair as he covered his face and wept. It was rare to see a mid-tier almighty priest showing such helplessness. The palace master took a deep breath and looked at Yi Qinghan. He was waiting for Yi Qinghan to express his opinion. However, Emperor Yi exhaled and said crisply, "Fortunately, I didn't disappoint you. I suppressed his soul at the end of the sea of bitterness and nurtured it. I estimate that he will recover 50 to 60% in a year or so." Everyone raised their eyebrows. The palace master didn't believe it and directly probed into Lu Zhantian's consciousness. He found that his broken soul was all gathered in a small cage at the end of the sea of bitterness, but it was indeed pulled back from the depths of hell by Emperor Yi. Good skill. What a powerful guqin sound, to be able to bring the dead back to life. This old man is impressed. The palace master stared at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi and asked hoarsely, "As far as I know, there isn't a high-tier priest in the mythical plane who can perform guqin to such a level. Please tell me, is your master really a high-tier priest? If so, please get straight to the point. Which plane are you from? Why did you appear in my mythical plane? And why did you appear in my Mushin estate?" Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were stunned. They didn't expect the palace master to be so serious. They didn't know that the war between planes was very cruel. It could easily destroy the mountain river plain. Once a full-scale war broke out, even a high-tier priest would die in battle. Lu Jing and Mu Xiaoqi automatically left the courtyard, leaving the three of them alone. Yi Qinghan motioned for Emperor Yi to go back and rest so that he could face the palace master alone. "What do you want to say to me?" The palace master stared at Yi Qinghan and asked in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan shook his head and said, "Master Castellan, my master is indeed from another middle realm, but as far as I know, there is absolutely no war between that realm and the mythical realm. They are not even close, so you don't have to worry, you're wrong. Since I already know about what happened today, it's impossible for me to pretend that I don't know. Perhaps you don't understand how cruel the planar war is. Let me tell you now, once the war starts, 1 or 2 people from the divine cleansing prefecture like mine will be wiped out at any time. Even a high and mighty prefecture lord like me won't be able to escape alive. Do you think I'll listen to your words and not investigate you?" In the bamboo courtyard, the atmosphere became even more unbearable. The authority of the manor lord was not something Yi Qinghan could resist. Now, as long as the manor lord wanted to, killing Yi Qinghan would be as simple as raising his hand. "What do you want to know?" Yi Qinghan asked in a low voice. "Who exactly is your master?" The manor lord asked in a deep voice. "The 9 Serenities, master." Yi Qinghan replied without hesitation. Boom! The manor lord staggered and almost fell to the ground. He looked at Yi Qinghan in shock and disbelief. "How is this possible? What proof do you have to prove that you're his disciple?" The manor lord understood what kind of concept the 9 Serenities master was. He was in existence even more terrifying than a divine master. There were at least 3 divine masters in the entire mythological plane, but in the 9 Serenities plane, there was only one supreme existence. It was obvious how powerful his control over the 9 Serenities plane was. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan reached out and took out the gold medallion. There was almost no fluctuation of law on it, but a true powerhouse could tell at a glance that it was a teleportation array. Moreover, it was a super long-distance teleportation array. It could be used to travel any distance in an instant. This was given to me by the Venerable. Perhaps it can prove my identity, Yi Qinghan said indifferently. The manor lord took a deep breath. He was overjoyed. Yi Qinghan actually knew the 9 Serenities master. The 9 Serenities plane was the final resting place for all souls without a home. As long as the physical body was destroyed but the soul was not, he would still be able to go to the 9 Serenities plane. The 9 Serenities plane was a transcendent place. It had no wars with any other planes. The 9 Serenities master had a special relationship with the other divine masters. No one was willing to offend him. Therefore, after so many years, most of the high-ranking priests had not died. Even if they died, the 9 Serenities master would not leave them in the 9 Serenities plane. Instead, he chose to let them reincarnate and have a chance to recover their memories and return to their peak. "Why did you come to the mythological plane instead of cultivating in the 9 Serenities plane?" the manor lord asked with a frown. "I haven't agreed to be his disciple yet," Yi Qinghan replied indifferently. Cough, cough, cough. The manor lord could not catch his breath. His eyes were wide open. He wanted nothing more than to wait for Yi Qinghan to die. His fingertips were trembling, and he could not help but want to strangle this bastard. So many ultimate divine masters wanted to know the 9 Serenities master, even if they could be his servant. But Yi Qinghan, the 9 Serenities master, had taken the initiative to ask him to be his disciple, but Yi Qinghan did not agree. And now, he was still shamelessly saying that he had not agreed to it. You're pissing me off. Other than Emperor Yi, what else do you want? You don't like my daughter, and you don't care. I'll accept her. But the 9 Serenities master wants to take you as his disciple, and you're telling me that you haven't agreed to it. What are you thinking? The manor lord asked in exasperation. The Nine Serenities plane is not suitable for me to develop, nor is it suitable for the insane sect to develop, Yi Qinghan said calmly. Huff, 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 the Manor Lord could not control his emotions. Chatting with Yi Qinghan was enough to drive him to his grave. How do you want to develop the insane sect? You don't even want to be the Nine Serenities Master's disciple. Do you want to be a divine master in the middle plane? The Manor Lord frowned and asked curiously. Yi Qinghan smiled faintly and did not answer the Manor Lord's question. The Manor Lord knew that he had asked about Yi Qinghan's personal matters, so he did not pursue the matter. He said, "The divine cleansing estate is not big, but it can be your stepping stone." "I hope you don't mind," Yi Qinghan laughed. It was not easy to ask for favors from the Manor Lord. People at the Manor Lord's level only had one goal, and that was to become a superior god. Only by becoming a superior god could they have a say in the war between planes. The Manor Lord's words were cannon fodder in the war between planes. "My lord, just pretend that you don't know anything. I only revealed his identity because I don't want to return to the Nine Serenities plane. I'm not asking for your help in conquering the mythical plane," Yi Qinghan said with a slight bow. "My lord, if Lu Zhantian wakes up, I implore you to agree to their marriage. I can understand Brother Lu's feelings for the seventh princess," Yi Qinghan whispered as he stared at the Manor Lord. The Manor Lord nodded and smiled bitterly. "All these years, I've only limited my vision to the power struggle in the divine cleansing estate. That's why I'm disgusted with their marriage. This is also why I can't break through the bottleneck for so long." Emperor Yi was currently recuperating his soul. The long period of extreme exhaustion had strengthened his soul by a lot. A vast sea of faith gathered and began to form the second divinity. The divine power was pure and rich, filling his divine abode. Yi Qinghan returned to the courtyard and watched Emperor Yi break through. He took a deep breath and became more confident in his future development. Chapter 548. Yi Qinghan's arrival in the main city of Divine Mushan Prefecture was very calm, but the turbulence in the dark was getting more and more intense. Yi Qinghan defeated all the experts in one night, and now his disciple almost killed the strongest of the younger generation, Lu Zhantian, in one move. The master and disciple became famous after that battle. In the entire Divine Mushan Prefecture, other than Long Feitian, who had been studying in Tianke Divine Academy, no one else dared to provoke Yi Qinghan. The prefecture lord had always been indifferent to Yi Qinghan, which made some of the older generation's vengeful heart reignite. Haoyue sect. Sun Xian had already found out that it was Yi Qinghan who stole Sun Haoran's Haoyue Divine Lotus Divine Weapon. Sun Haoran had also returned to Haoyue sect. At this moment, Sun Xian was constantly thinking about taking back the divine weapon and killing Yi Qinghan. Jiang Haochen looked at Sun Xian and said coldly, "Yi Qinghan has always been in the main city, so we can't make a move there. The Haoyue Divine Lotus Divine Weapon is the most important divine weapon of our Haoyue sect. We can't lose it and must get it back as soon as possible. As the Great Elder, you privately gave the divine weapon to Sun Haoran. You are simply foolish." Sun Xian nodded. This matter could only be done by himself. Yi Qinghan's disciple almost killed Lu Zhantian. Yi Qinghan's background was obviously not as simple as defeating Sun Haoran. Even Su Shun, the chief disciple of Haoyue sect, might not be his opponent. Try not to make a move in the main city, and lure him out. Even if we fail, we can't let him suspect our Haoyue sect. After all, no one knows if the prefecture lord wants to protect him or find a chance to suppress him. Jiang Haochen reminded. Sun Xian thought for a moment, then nodded and left Haoyue sect. West Spirit Mountain was a special mountain valley. The mountain path was rugged and unbroken. High mountains and forests were everywhere. It was not far from the main city of Divine Mushan Prefecture. It was full of divine qi. It was surrounded by mountains and rivers. It was magnificent. There were not many birds and beasts. It was a holy land on earth, a holy land for cultivation. However, very few people came here because an assassin lived here. The name of the god slayer was known to everyone in the Mushin prefecture. He had killed countless people, including those who had assassinated the divine priest. The battle 3,000 years ago made him famous. He was invited by the commander of the Steel Dragon army to assassinate a commander. He only took 3 days to infiltrate the army and assassinate the commander, causing the enemy army to lose without a fight. Mushin Prefecture then opened up a fertile land for thousands of miles. It was because of this that he was able to live in seclusion here with peace of mind. The divine Mushin Manor Lord had also secretly approved of his existence. In the middle of the night, Sun Xian descended into the depths of the mountain. He went deeper and deeper until he arrived in front of a mountain valley, where he didn't dare to move about recklessly. The moonlight was like water as it poured down. The leaves swayed and rustled. "Mr. Godslayer, do you still want to take the job?" Sun Xian bowed slightly toward the mountain valley and asked respectfully. "Yes, but you know my price. It's not cheap." A hoarse voice sounded. It was very scary, as if it came from the depths of hell. "The target is a lower divine priest." Sun Xian bowed and said, "Don't you know my rules? I never attack a lower divine priest. They don't deserve it." The god slayer still did not appear. He just scolded. "But the opponent has 3 types of divine power. This means he has at least 3 divine personas. Moreover, his divine power is pure. It's obvious that he condensed the 3 divine personas himself and did not refine others. I think Mr. will be interested in such a genius." Sun Xian showed a treacherous smile as he quietly looked into the depths. 3 elemental genius? Such an elite has not appeared in the world for a long time. The god slayer's voice suddenly changed. There was some interest in it. "There's another piece of news that I think Mr. will be interested in." Sun Xian understood the god slayer's hobby. He specialized in killing challenging elite geniuses. The stronger the opponent, the more excited he would be. Sometimes he would even take the job without any reward. Whoosh! A black robe flashed by. There was a ghost mask on his head. It was impossible to tell how old he was. He was wrapped in a black killing robe and looked very mysterious. "What news?" The god slayer's cold eyes stared at Sun Xian. The dignified medium divine priest did not dare to look directly at him. His disciple, Emperor Yi, is only a 1,000-year-old girl. However, she almost killed Lu Zhantian in one move. I saved her life. Sun Xian bowed and said. The god slayer's eyes flashed coldly. He was somewhat shocked. Lu Zhantian was the vice-commander of the Iron Dragon army. He naturally knew about him and had seen his heroic and domineering aura on the battlefield. Even a medium divine priest could not kill him in one move. Interesting. At this moment, Yi Qinghan did not know that someone had invited the god slayer. He was still practicing the 108 heaven slashing blade technique. His powerful soul and divine power allowed him to cultivate 2 powerful secret techniques at the same time. The all laws into one origin technique required the cultivator to possess 3 or more elements at the same time. This all laws into one origin technique allowed him to fuse all the laws of nature into one and unleash primal chaos force. Of course, the person who created this mystic technique was definitely a 1-in-a-million prodigy. He only possessed 2 essences, the essences of water and the essences of fire. Yet, through these 2 essences, he was able to infer the fusion of other essences and great Daos. Even the creator himself did not know if this theoretical secret technique would succeed. No one dared to try. After all, if they failed, the origin laws would be chaotic, and even the medium divine priest would explode and die. Yi Qinghan looked at the theory of the technique. It was as if he could see the mentality of the creator of this technique. It was almost exactly the same as his. The power of chaos. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed. He simply gave up on practicing the blade technique and focused on comprehending the all laws into one origin technique. Yi Qinghan closed his eyes and began to condense the various origin laws in his body into a special power. It was as if the beginning of chaos had opened up the end of the sea of bitterness. The land of chaos was filled with stars. The power of faith became exceptionally clear. Yi Qinghan could even sense the wishes of the living beings in the endless plains. The stars in his sea of consciousness seemed to be able to create life. Yi Qinghan raised his hand and divine light poured out. The origin of all laws fused into one and descended on a star. A speck of dust could derive life. The birth of life was very difficult and complicated. It contained countless mysteries. It was not something that humans or gods could control. The power of nature was endless. Yi Qinghan carefully sensed the power of the beginning of chaos. A seed could split a mountain rock. This power of life was comparable to divine power or even far surpassed it. Is this the power of life? The power of chaos? Yi Qinghan involuntarily raised his hand and slashed at the stars. The laws he comprehended, the origin, and the power of the great Tao instantly merged into one, forming a power that transcended nature. It was like divine power, but it was not true divine power. Whoosh! A purple lightning appeared in the sky above the divine cleansing residence. It directly struck into the depths of chaos and illuminated the world. Chapter 549. A bolt of purple lightning tore through the shackles of darkness. It contained the origin of countless laws and gave birth to a strange power. In the main city of the divine Mushan prefecture, the mid-level gods all sensed this special energy. Everyone thought that the prefecture head was cultivating and had a new breakthrough, so they didn't pay too much attention to it. However, the prefecture head had his eyes fixed on Yi Qinghan's side courtyard. Yi Qinghan and Ren Huangye's powers rippled and intertwined with each other as they continued to rise. The power that had returned to the primal chaos rushed into Ren Huangye's sea of consciousness, causing her godhood to become even stronger. Her godhood became even purer and contained a different kind of law of nature. Emperor Ye's second godhood also contained the power of primal chaos. The Zither Dao godhood increased Emperor Ye's understanding of the Zither Dao by 30%. Her whole body emitted a charming aura, yet incomparably holy. The two godhoods floated proudly in the sea of bitterness. Her sea of bitterness was clear and incomparably blue, without a trace of impurities. The sound of a zither reverberated in the sky above the Mushan prefecture. It was like the sound of nature, causing the gods to tremble and be immersed in the night. This kind of zither music was not from the mortal world. It was rarely heard in the mythical plane. At least, such a divine music would not appear in a remote and desolate place like the Mushan prefecture. The zither music was beautiful, soothing the soul. The sound of the zither was accompanied by the crisp sound of bells. Most of the music gathered in the bamboo courtyard. Lu Zhantian's fingertips moved slightly. His soul could finally feel his body. After a long time, his brows twitched and he gently opened his eyes. The piercing pain in his soul caused his vision to darken and he almost fainted again. Ah! Lu Zhantian screamed and raised his hand to hold his head. The intense pain was unbearable. Hum. The zither music became gentle and surrounded Lu Zhantian, soothing his soul. Finally, he calmed down and closed his eyes tightly. A drop of tear flowed from the corner of his eye. I'm not dead yet. I lost. Ha. Lu Zhantian's heart had never been so carefree. Even though he lost so miserably, he was still extremely happy. If he lost to someone else, he obviously wouldn't have such a reaction. Yi Qinghan slowly got up and came to the bamboo courtyard. He looked at Lu Zhantian's soul that was fighting fiercely and said in a low voice, Your wish has been fulfilled. Now you can rest and recuperate. Your soul has been torn apart before. My son's zither music is the best way to soothe your soul. Lu Zhantian clenched his fists. He really wanted to stand up and thank Yi Qinghan. Even though this was the first time they met, Yi Qinghan had helped him time and time again. Each time, it was the most important favor. This caused his gratitude towards Yi Qinghan to reach an indescribable level. Recuperate quietly. The good days are ahead. Yi Qinghan patted Lu Zhantian's shoulder, and a wisp of wood element containing a terrifying vitality rushed into Lu Zhantian's sea of consciousness. Then, he turned around and left. Emperor Yi was still playing the zither. On one hand, he was helping Lu Zhantian recover from his injuries. On the other hand, he was consolidating his Tao of the zither. The divine cleansing residence fell into silence at night. However, all the strong cultivators quietly opened their eyes and stood in front of the window, overlooking the magnificent night sky. Suddenly, the zither music changed. It became austere, containing a warning and murderous aura. Everyone was stunned. Yi Qinghan abruptly pulled out his zither and walked out of the courtyard. His eyes were as cold as lightning. Even though he didn't see the killer, he could feel a faint murderous aura approaching. What's going on? Why did the zither music suddenly become so violent? The strong cultivators were very curious. However, they couldn't sense the aura of the God Slayer. Emperor Yi was one with the world. In addition, he had just condensed his Tao of the zither godhead. Wherever the zither music reached, it was his domain. No matter how strong the God Slayer was, as long as it blocked the sound of the zither, Emperor Yi would be able to sense it. This was something that even he didn't know. The prefecture lord did not make a move. He just watched quietly. He wanted to see how Yi Qinghan would deal with the God Slayer. The God Slayer strode over on the wind, holding a dragon-shaped dagger in his hand. It was pitch black and didn't shine in the darkness of the night, nor did it have the slightest ripple of magical laws or divine power. The God Slayer knew that the Lord Prefect had already discovered him, but since the Lord Prefect did not object to him taking action, he was relieved. He walked straight towards Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. Boom! A strand of zither music turned into a weapon that tore through the void and went straight for the God Slayer. No matter how powerful his concealment technique was, he could not hide from Emperor Yi's soul. Whoosh! As soon as Emperor Yi moved, Yi Qinghan moved as well. Emperor Yi was his eyes, and there was no need for him to sense the location of the God Slayer. He simply slashed out with his saber, and it was so fierce that it illuminated the world. The might of the divine weapon was vast and mighty. Boom! The stone slabs on the street were sent flying by the saber chi. Yi Qinghan's saber was as fast as lightning. Kill! A deep and domineering voice reverberated throughout the main city of the divine cleansing prefecture. It shook the lesser God Slayer to the core. The God Slayer did not expect Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi to take action in advance and accurately locate his position. He could not help but be shocked. He hurriedly dodged and evaded Emperor Yi's attack. However, Yi Qinghan's explosive power enveloped the God Slayer. There was no other way but to take it head-on. Boom! The God Slayer stabbed out with his dagger. The difference between the dagger and the berserk was like the difference between heaven and earth. It was like the difference between a dragon and a snake. However, in the hands of the God Slayer, the snake was even more powerful than a dragon. The dagger collided with the berserk, and an ear-piercing sound tore through the void. Miserable screams could be heard from the surrounding streets and houses. Many of the lesser God Slayers could not withstand such explosive power. Yi Qinghan twisted his waist, and the berserk exploded with terrifying power. Just his domineering strength alone was comparable to that of a medium God Slayer. Open! The God Slayer roared and used his divine ability. His strength instantly increased by more than 10 times. Heaven cleaving. Boom. The powerful impact tore apart Yi Qinghan's arm, and his body flew backward. Whoosh. The long saber struck the ground, leaving a trail of flames behind it. The Divine Cleansing Estate's defensive formation was activated, and the damaged streets were restored to their original state. The God Slayer's aura stagnated. He was almost choked by Yi Qinghan's saber. His body froze, giving Yi Qinghan a chance to catch his breath. He staggered a step and steadied himself. Whoosh! Emperor Yi came over with his zither. He transformed it into a zither and placed it on Yi Qinghan's shoulder. He plucked 9 strings, and divine power poured out, forming a sky-cleaving divine arrow. Whoosh 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 whoosh. 9 sharp arrows pierced through the void and merged into one. The divine arrow pierced through the sky and appeared in front of the God Slayer. Before the God Slayer could retaliate, Emperor Ye's killing move had arrived. No matter how fast the God Slayer was, he could not dodge. He could only take it head-on. Boom! The dagger in the God Slayer's hand transformed into a huge divine sword, which collided with the arrow. Thud thud thud. The God Slayer had underestimated Emperor Ye's attack. He was knocked dozens of miles away by the arrow. He was smashed out of the main city and appeared in the outer city. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi rushed out of the city and saw the person clearly. The strange mask seemed to have come from hell. The God Slayer didn't have the slightest bit of aura, as if he had no life force, like a dead object. His concealment technique was even better than Yan Yunbei's. I didn't expect you to discover me. How interesting. The God Slayer looked down at Emperor Yi and Yi Qinghan. His hoarse voice made people's hair stand on end. Chapter 550. I didn't expect you to discover me. How interesting. The God Slayer looked down at Emperor Yi and Yi Qinghan, his hoarse voice making their hair stand on end. Yi Qinghan frowned as he looked at the person in front of him. He was like a ghost, even more sinister than the ghosts of the 9 serenities. He didn't have the slightest hint of a human, much less a high and mighty god. Who are you? Yi Qinghan asked coldly. You don't even know who I am. What a country bumpkin. To think you have such powerful combat strength. This is even more interesting. The God Slayer's sharp voice rang out again. His sinister eyes stared at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi as though he wanted to see through them. I don't want to know such a cowardly thing. As long as you don't target us, we can't be bothered to know you. Tell me, who sent you to kill us? Emperor Ye's voice was like the sound of nature, piercing through space and reverberating through the night sky. People call me the God Slayer. The God Slayer did not take Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi seriously at all. This was the first time he had communicated with his target. He wanted to investigate Yi Qinghan's background. Yi Qinghan had obviously never heard of this name, and Emperor Yi was even less likely to have heard of it. He was unwilling to speak with the God Slayer, and only looked at him warily. The God Slayer was too strange. If one couldn't see him, they wouldn't be able to sense him at all. Emperor Yi had only discovered the God Slayer by accident. Once the God Slayer knew that it was Emperor Ye's zither that had discovered him, he would definitely find a way to deal with it. An invisible mid-level god was very frightening. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi secretly communicated. Son, be strong. Don't hold back. Force him back. You're the main attacker. I'll support you. Emperor Yi nodded. His fingertips moved, and the sound of the zither rang out again. The moment the melody touched the God Slayer, he attacked. Ding ding ding. Boom. Boom. In the outer city, the guqin was playing a sharp tune. It was no longer a soothing tune, but a soul-stealing tune that contained boundless murderous intent. Emperor Ye's fingers were as fast as lightning, almost breaking the strings of the guqin. Once the hurried melody touched the God Slayer, he would be able to locate him. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Ye's souls had merged into one. Whatever Emperor Yi knew, Yi Qinghan would know in an instant. Whoosh, whoosh. The God Slayer's speed was extremely fast, even faster than the chief steward. His trajectory was even more bizarre as he constantly closed in, wanting to kill Emperor Yi first. But no matter how he tried to change his position, Yi Qinghan would always be able to attack him in advance. His attack had a wide range, making it impossible for him to dodge. All he could do was take it head-on. Boom, boom, boom. Every time the two collided, they would be sent flying hundreds of meters. Yi Qinghan's perlicue ruptured as divine blood splattered everywhere. He was wild and domineering. His movements were bold and had the power to slash the heavens. The heavenly astral 108 heaven slashing saber technique was fully unleashed in his hand. The God Slayer frowned and changed his position again. He was prepared to end Yi Qinghan with his dagger, but just as he stabilized himself and before he could attack, Yi Qinghan attacked again. He turned, slashed, and exploded in one go. How is this possible? How could you have predicted my position? The God Slayer roared as he questioned angrily. He had no way of dealing with Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan was too strong, enough to fight a mid-level god priest. Most importantly, Yi Qinghan was like an unkillable person. His recovery speed was extremely fast, and his divine power was endless. Anyone who went against him would go crazy. Powerless. The God Slayer was helpless. He wasn't an ordinary mid-level god priest. He relied on his movement techniques, speed, and assassination. But in front of Yi Qinghan, he had no advantage at all. Instead, he was forced by Yi Qinghan to use his disadvantage to fight against Yi Qinghan's advantage. Nothing is impossible. Yi Qinghan raised his saber and attacked once again. Boom. Emperor Yi also began his attack, leaving no room for maneuver. Bam! 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 The God Slayer was sent flying by the combined attacks of the two. The dagger in his hand collided with the heavy saber repeatedly. His soul also had to defend against Emperor Yi's attack. It was already good enough that he could use 30 to 50% of his combat strength. Fighting against Yi Qinghan again, he was at a disadvantage. The mid-level god priest who was watching the battle from afar narrowed his eyes. He looked at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi in disbelief. He didn't understand how Yi Qinghan had discovered the God Slayer. In the entire divine cleansing prefecture, even the prefecture lord couldn't have discovered the God Slayer's position so easily. Yi Qinghan was able to accurately pinpoint the God Slayer's position every time. It couldn't be a coincidence. How can this be? Father, who are they? How did Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi do it? Mu Xiaoqi was incomparably shocked. She had once wanted to become the God Slayer's disciple and learn his secret movement technique. But now, it seemed that such techniques were so weak that they couldn't even withstand a single blow. The prefecture lord didn't understand either, but he took it for granted that the 9 Serenities Lord had taught Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi Qinghan's signature move. He solemnly reminded her, in the future, don't try to find out their origins. Just follow your heart, but you must not offend them. Mu Xiaoqi looked at her father. In all her years of life, this was the first time she had seen the prefecture lord be so polite to a junior. It was as if he was afraid of offending Yi Qinghan. At this moment, the head steward walked in and bowed. My lord, Yi Qinghan only used low-level secret technique. The saber techniques were exchanged from Lu Zhantian. I can't see any profound secrets in them. I know. There's no need to rush. The God Slayer won't be unable to force him to use his trump cards. Let's wait patiently, the prefecture lord said calmly. From the looks of it, this old servant really doesn't think so. Yi Qinghan can pinpoint the God Slayer's position and even predict his next move. This skill isn't something a secret technique can achieve. The God Slayer's advantage has been completely suppressed. Right now, he can no longer be considered the God Slayer that everyone fears. At most, he can be considered a second-rate medium god. He can crush any lesser god, but he might not be able to defeat Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi when they work together. The head steward respectfully expressed his opinion. That's right. The head steward's prediction was very accurate. Yi Qinghan was enough to pin down the God Slayer. Emperor Ye's unbridled attacks caused the God Slayer to be unable to focus on Yi Qinghan. The God Slayer was forced to retreat again and again. The God Slayer's divine armor was torn apart by the violent saber. The God Slayer was panicking, so much so that he could only display a fraction of his combat strength. He had never seen anyone who could predict the trajectory of others and grasp his own position so accurately. Even the prefecture lord of the divine cleansing prefecture couldn't do this. Only a top-level prefecture lord or a legendary superior god could do this. Retreat. As soon as the God Slayer wanted to retreat, Yi Qinghan's attacks became even sharper. He directly mobilized the origin laws and great Tao around him, fusing them into one. The origin became one, and the power of primal chaos poured out. In an instant, all the power in the God Slayer's three godhoods were drained. Boom! Violent and domineering, the saber slashed across the void. The space outside the main city collapsed and a huge black hole appeared. Swish, swish, swish. The sound of the space being torn apart was especially ear-piercing. The God Slayer was extremely shocked. He turned around and dashed into the distance. His trajectory was unpredictable. He frantically dodged and no longer tried to resist the attack. He knew that if he did, Yi Qinghan would be gravely injured. He would also be gravely injured, and Yi Qinghan would be entangled with him again. Whoosh! The God Slayer tore through the void and escaped from the battlefield. Yi Qinghan's attack missed and crashed into the empty space, raising a huge sand wave. A huge ravine appeared outside the main city of the divine cleansing prefecture. It looked extremely terrifying. It was as if only a mid-level god could cause such damage. The mid-level god priests in the main city of the divine cleansing prefecture had a slight change in expression. Yi Qinghan's attack already possessed the destructive power of a mid-level god priest. His combat strength had obviously surpassed Lu Zhantian's. Chapter 551. The news of the battle between Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi spread to every corner of the major cities in the Mushan estate overnight. It was still God's County. Now, Stan Wuxie and Stan Huangtian had become guests of God's County. However, Stan Wuxie and Stan Huangtian did not fit in. They could not work well together. His desire to leave this place and find Yi Qinghan grew stronger and stronger. It had been quite some time since he entered the mythical plane. Stan Wuxie's improvement wasn't small. He had already obtained 90% of Stan Huangtian's true inheritance. Without any support from faith, he was about to condense a godhead. However, he had no faith and no foundation. If he wanted to enter the god realm, he had to refine other people's godheads. God's County was considered the smallest city. There weren't many god shrines. The God's County's county god didn't have any extra godheads, not to mention bestowing it to Stan Wuxie or Stan Huangtian. However, Stan Huangtian was a veteran great emperor of the Endless Plains. He had once made great contributions to the Endless Plains. He didn't lack the power of faith. Entering the god realm was just around the corner. Stan Wuxie didn't leave because he wanted to protect Stan Huangtian and let him enter the god realm. Once he entered the god realm, he wouldn't have to worry about the county god killing him. If he fought with all his strength, Stan Huangtian might win against the county god. On this day, Stan Huangtian called Wuxie over and said in a deep voice, "Wuxie, I know you want to leave. Wait a few more days and protect me. After I condense a godhead, I will bring you to see your master." There has been an endless stream of news about him these few days. I have indeed underestimated him. Thank you, old ancestor. Stan Wuxia bowed respectfully and said, Old ancestor, don't worry. You can focus on condensing a godhead. Once the county god appears, I will inform you immediately. At least I will help you delay some time. Yes, I didn't tell him I wanted to condense a godhead. The mythical plane isn't the endless universe. Here, I can't trust anyone except you. Stan Huangtian took a deep breath. His vigorous face was cold and arrogant. Once he became a god shrine, he would be crazier than the average god shrine. If the county god wanted to kill him, he would definitely kill him and seize the godhead for Stan Wuxia. Indeed, Stan Huangtian did not tell anyone about condensing a godhead, but how could he hide it from the county gods? The county god's expression was solemn. What he lacked the most was a godhead. A godhead was the best thing for him to improve. It was more effective than any divine medicine. Not everyone was as powerful as Yi Qinghan, who could kill priests as easily as drinking water. Under normal circumstances, priests could not be killed. Knock, knock, knock. The county deity knocked on the table, his eyes shining with a terrifying light. Pa pa pa, a series of low knocks on the door woke him up. Come in, the county god said in a low voice. Creak. Chao Wanjun, the commander-in-chief of the gods' county's divine guards, walked in with a faint smile on his face. His smile was somewhat evil and chilling. He was also a lower-level god priest. This city was conquered by him and the county god together. Senior brother, Stan Huangtian should be condensing his divine deity. What do you think? Chao Wanjun asked in a low voice. The two of them were senior brothers from the same sect and had a very good relationship. Hence, they understood each other and knew what the other was going to do with just a glance. Our God's county can no longer expand our territory. Hence, there is no need for a divine priest as a guest. You and I are enough for God's county. The county god, Shin Kongshao, said in a serious voice. I understand. Leave this matter to me. Chao Wanjun laughed coldly and was about to leave. No, Stan Huangtian's combat power cannot be underestimated. Once he fails, it will not be good for us. The moment his divine deity condenses, we will join forces to kill him. As for Stan Wuxia, he is already useless. Let's kill him together, the county god said firmly. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. They had made up their minds. Stan Wuxia did not know that the county god had the intention to kill him. At this moment, he was sitting in Stan Huangtian's courtyard and cultivating. Brother Wuxia, let me tell you something. Something earth-shattering. A clear and pleasant voice rang out from outside the courtyard and into the inner courtyard. Stan Wuxia frowned. He knew that the person outside was the county god's youngest daughter. Her name was Shin Kongshu. She was only 10 years old and her cultivation was average. She did not have much talent. Hence, her status in the county god's residence was average and she was not favored. She was often humiliated and bullied by the county god's residence's young masters and eldest princesses. Ever since she came, her life had become better. Stan Wuxia opened the door. A beautiful young lady stood in front of him. She was dressed plainly and did not have the delicate aura of a princess. She was like a little sister next door. She had snow-white skin and big round eyes. She was very charming and cute. Brother Wuxia, I just heard them talking about something big happening in the Divine Mu Residence's main city. I specially came to tell you, Shin Kongshu said in a low voice as if she was presenting a treasure. What news? Stan Wuxia asked in a low voice. I heard that 2 young experts came to the Divine Mu Residence's main city. One is an expert in the Tao of the Zither, and the other is an expert in the Tao of the Blade. The expert in the Tao of the Zither is a little girl. I heard that she is about the same age as me. She actually defeated the strongest person in our Divine Mu Residence's younger generation, Lord Lu Zhantian. She is so powerful. I admire her and want to defeat her as my master, Shin Kongxue said excitedly. Stan Wuxie's pupils shrank. He immediately interrupted Shin Kongxue and asked in a low voice, an expert in the Tao of the zither and an expert in the Tao of the blade? What are their characteristics? What are their names? Shin Kongxue looked at Stan Wuxie's excited expression and became even happier. She quickly said, the girl is called Emperor Yi. The man is called Yi Qinghan? Hiss. Stan Wuxie sucked in a breath of cold air. Recently, he had been trying to find out Yi Qinghan's exact location. He did not expect that they would actually come to the Divine Mu Residence's main city. Continue. What other news about them? Stan Wuxie asked excitedly. Shin Kongxue saw that Stan Wuxie was so nervous and quickly told him the news she just heard. Last night, our Divine Mu Residence's strongest assassin, known as the God Slayer, went to the main city to kill these two young experts. Guess what happened? Shin Kongxue looked at Stan Wuxie, keeping him in suspense. However, she saw that his eyes were shining with a terrifying light. She was instantly speechless and said, the dignified God Slayer, who once assassinated the commander of the three armies, was actually defeated by the two of them. Wow, they are really too powerful. Right now, all the young people in the entire Divine Mu residence are talking about it. I heard that the two of them are master and disciple. The man is not married and the woman is not married. Humph. They are dual cultivation husband and wife. They are not existences that a bunch of rascals can covet. Stan Wuxie snorted coldly. Shin Kongxue was instantly stunned. She muttered, how do you know? Because Emperor Yi is my senior sister. That man is my master. I grew up with them since young. How could I not know? Stan Wuxie said disdainfully. Chapter 552. Shin Kongxue looked at Si Wuxie in a daze. She didn't know whether she should believe him or not. The legendary idols were actually his master and senior sister. Little Shui, help me do something. Si Wuxie felt a little uneasy and decided to ask for help from Yi Qinghan. What is it? Shin Kongxue asked curiously. Help me find a trustworthy person to inform my master. Ask him to come to God's County, but don't let anyone else know that he is coming to God's County, including your father or any of your friends. Si Wuxie dragged Shin Kongxue into the courtyard and said softly. Shin Kongxue looked at Si Wuxie in surprise. She felt that what he said was true. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi are really your master and senior sister? Shin Kongxue asked again. Yes, they really are. So as long as you help me, the reward is beyond your imagination. Si Wuxie said in a deep voice. Leave it to me. I have a way to inform him quickly. I have a cousin in the main city of the Divine Mu residence. He is also an expert of the younger generation. It is said that he is in the Divine Priest realm. I can contact him through the communication talisman, but he doesn't like father. In the entire family, he only keeps in contact with me. Shin Kongxue was very excited. At this moment, she really wanted to meet her idol, Emperor Yi. In the main city of the Divine Mu residence, all the experts of the younger generation were discussing. They wanted to meet Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. Even a word of advice from them would make them excited. Unfortunately, Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi had closed their doors and refused to see anyone. Yesterday's battle with the God Slayer had benefited them greatly. At this moment, they were cultivating in seclusion in their rooms. The courtyard was surrounded by the divine guards of the Divine Mu residence, and no one was allowed to disturb them. Many young people were lingering outside the courtyard. The students of the Mu residence, and those who had participated in the fight for the Seven Extremes grass were all thinking of ways to meet Yi Qinghan again. No matter what, they had to apologize first. Unfortunately, they didn't have the chance to do so. In an ordinary room of an inn, there was a handsome young man in his 20s. He had just entered the divine priest realm not long ago. He had always been fighting at the bottom line, searching for his own path. His name was Shin Kongquan. He was Shin Kongshue's cousin. His father married Shin Kongxiao's younger sister. His status was very low. Aunts were even lower than some of the housekeepers in the residence. This caused his relationship with Shin Kongxiao was very bad. But his talent wasn't bad. He has talents, and he had to. Yes was an emperor's was. And was. Unfortunately, all the young people in the main city wanted to meet Yi Qinghan. He had no background and no extraordinary talent, so it was almost impossible for him to meet Yi Qinghan. Even if he did meet Yi Qinghan might not give him any pointers. Shin Kongquan frowned. He was a loner. He didn't get along well with others. Only a few people knew about his communication talisman. No one else knew about it. Xiao Shui? Is my father being bullied again? Shin Kongquan clenched his fist. Shin Kongxue had always been his spy in the Shin Kong manor. If something happened to his parents, she would use the communication talisman to inform him. Therefore, whenever Shin Kongxue sent a message, nothing good would come out of it. He opened the communication talisman. The mirror reflected two people. Shin Kongxue was standing at the side. It was an unfamiliar big boy. His light was frightening. He didn't look ordinary. Shin Kongquan frowned and asked, Xiao Shui, who is he? Why did you contact me? Si Wuxia looked at Shin Kongquan and said, My friend, I'm Si Wuxia. I'm Yi Qinghan's disciple and Emperor Yez Jr. I need your help. SSSS, Shin Kongquan gasped. His eyes were filled with suspicion. He didn't dare to believe Si Wuxia's words. What did you say? You're the two lords' disciple and junior? You're from the crazy sect? Why are you in the God's Region's manor? Shin Kongquan questioned. You don't have to ask about these things. I just want you to meet my master and ask him to come to the God's Region's manor immediately. However, you can't inform anyone. If you can do it, I promise you that you can become the deacon of the crazy sect's outer sect. However, you have to be loyal to the crazy sect. Si Wuxia said in a low voice. Shin Kongquan's eyes shone brightly. The status of a disciple of the crazy sect was very popular. It wasn't something that ordinary people could join. More importantly, Yi Qinghan wasn't someone that anyone could meet. I can't meet the two lords, Shin Kongquan said helplessly. Tell the guards that they have to inform my master. Just say that Si Wuxia is in trouble. The location is the God's Region's manor. My master will meet you and fulfill all your requests, Si Wuxia said confidently. Si Wuxia and Yi Qinghan's relationship wasn't ordinary. They seemed to be master and disciple, but in reality, they were like father and son. Yi Qinghan would indeed risk his life for Si Wuxia. Similarly, Si Wuxia would also give up his life for Yi Qinghan. Wait for me. Shin Kongquan closed the communication talisman. He didn't even have time to put on his shoes and directly rushed to Yi Qinghan's manor. Yi Qinghan's manor was a separate manor. It wasn't inside the God's cleansing manor. However, the main door was guarded by 3 powerful lower god priests. No one was allowed to approach it. Shin Kongquan rushed over but was stopped by the guards. Get lost. If you dare to come any closer, don't blame us for being impolite. The guards reprimanded angrily. My lord, I have an important matter to discuss with the two lords. Please pass the message, Shin Kongquan said nervously. Everyone says the same thing. If everyone is summoned, can Lord Yi still cultivate in peace? The guards said disdainfully. Shin Kongquan was anxious. These guards were stubborn. 3 lords, please pass the message. Just say that one of Lord Ye's disciples is in trouble and urgently needs his help. Shin Kongquan didn't dare to reveal the real location. He was afraid that it would attract Si Wuxia's calamity in advance. What a joke! Who dares to attack the Kuang sect now? If you dare to speak nonsense again, I will kill you right now. The guards snorted coldly. Ha ha ha, we have already used all these methods. You better not play these low-level tricks. If you want to meet the two lords, you can wait here slowly like us. Everyone mocked and looked at Shin Kongquan with disdain. These people were all people with backgrounds. If they couldn't even meet Yi Qinghan, what more a small cultivator like Shin Kongquan who came and went alone? Shin Kongquan's fingertips trembled. He didn't know what to do. At this moment, Lu Zhantian walked over with Mu Xiaoqi's support with a pale face. When he saw the group of people surrounding Shin Kongquan, he frowned and asked, "What happened? Who allowed you to gather here? If there's nothing, then get lost." Lu Zhantian was imposing without being angry. Even though he was severely injured, his words still contained the aura of a superior. There was no room for doubt. Chapter 553. Lu Zhantian stared at Shin Kongquan. "Sir, I beg you to let me see Lord Yi. I really have something important to tell you. Just now, a young man told me that he is Lord Ye's disciple. He is in trouble and urgently needs your help." Shin Kongquan hurriedly knelt on the ground. Success or failure depended on this. Lu Zhantian frowned and stared at Shin Kongquan. He said hoarsely, "Open the communication talisman and contact that person." Shin Kongquan hurriedly contacted Shin Kongxue and realized that both of them looked frightened. It was as if something big had happened. Lu Zhantian took the communication talisman and looked at the image of Si Wuxia. He was shocked but not panicked. He indeed had the temperament of Yi Qinghan. He asked in a low voice, "I am Lu Zhantian. Are you Brother Ye's disciple?" "Senior, Master is indeed Yi Qinghan. Why don't you ask him? I have something urgent to ask him." Si Wuxia glanced outside the courtyard. The knocking on the door was getting louder and more urgent. It was obvious that Shin Kongxiao had already made his move. "No need. Tell me where you are," Lu Zhantian asked coldly. "I am in the God's County residence. My ancestor is condensing his godhead. I am worried that they will do something to us. He is knocking on the door now." Boom! There was a loud sound. Shin Kongxiao smashed through the enchantment and walked into the courtyard. Swish! Si Wuxia pulled Shin Kongxue behind him and retreated a few steps. He looked at Shin Kongxiao with a gloomy expression and asked coldly, "County God, what are you doing?" "What am I doing? You still have the face to ask me? I took you in out of kindness, but you actually tried to seduce my daughter. You are out of your league." Shin Kongxiao smiled disdainfully and reached out to grab Si Wuxia. Si Wuxia was not a god priest. No matter how strong a venerable emperor was, he was powerless in front of a god priest. He was suppressed on the spot. The communication talisman fell to the ground. Shin Kongxiao then realized that the communication talisman was still lit up. There was an image reflected on the surface of the mirror. A man's face was pale, but it contained supreme dignity. He was instantly shocked. "Shin Kongxiao, pick up the communication talisman," Lu Zhantian shouted. Shin Kongxiao did not recognize Lu Zhantian. Lu Zhantian rarely appeared in front of people, but his awe-inspiring aura was enough to intimidate a county god like Shin Kongxiao. Shin Kongxiao was stunned. He reached out to grab the message talisman and saw that Lu Zhantian was actually being supported by a stunning woman. Moreover, this stunning woman was definitely a household name. She was actually the 7th princess of the divine Mu estate. "Shin Kongxiao, how dare you? How dare you attack Lord Ye's disciple? If you dare to hurt him, I'll exterminate your entire clan," Mu Xiaoqi rebuked angrily. Shin Kongxiao stood rooted to the ground. He did not understand who the Lord Yi they were referring to was, and how he was related to Si Wuxia. Lu Zhantian looked down at Shin Kong Shao. That pair of eyes had an oppressive feeling even though they were separated by time and space. Shin Kong Shao didn't dare to act recklessly. I am Lu Zhantian. Release that young man. If you dare to harm even a single hair on his head, I will personally come and find you. Lu Zhantian coldly said. Shin Kong Shao was so frightened that he did not know what to say. Mu Xiaoqi's identity was already very frightening. He did not expect that even the strongest expert of the younger generation, Lu Zhantian, would be alarmed. How did this Si Wuxia know such a powerful existence? Shin Kong Shao hurriedly put Si Wuxia down and released his seal. His face was a little pale. He glanced at Shin Kong Shui from the corner of his eyes. Shin Kong Shui clearly did not know that something like this would happen. At this moment, he was at a loss. However, he knew that the Shin Kong clan was finished. Si Wuxia took a deep breath. He knew that today was a daunting experience but not dangerous. He did not want to be ruthless. After all, Shin Kong Shui was still a member of the Shin Kong clan. Lu Zhantian hoarsely said, "What's your name?" "Senior, my name is Si Wuxia. Emperor Yi is my eldest senior sister." Si Wuxia heaved a sigh of relief and hurriedly replied. "Which small plane did you come from?" Lu Zhantian simply asked. "I came from an endless small plane," Si Wuxia replied. Lu Zhantian nodded. After confirming Si Wuxia's identity, he asked him to pass the messaging talisman to Shin Kong Shao. Shin Kong Shao trembled as he received the messaging talisman. He knelt on the ground in fear and pleaded, "My lord, I did not know that you were friends with him. Otherwise, even if you gave me 100 guts, I would not dare to make a move on them. My lord, please give me a chance." Boom, 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 Shin Kong Shao was a coward. He directly kowtowed and begged for mercy. He did not dare to quibble. Lu Zhantian frowned. This Shin Kong Shao knew that he had committed a capital offense. If he forced him now, he would definitely implicate Si Wuxia in his desperation. "Stand up. I will give you a chance to make up for your mistakes. Help protect old ancestor Si Wuxia. Allow him to successfully condense his God lattice and safely pass the God tribulation. I will send people to pick them up. During this period of time, treat them well. If you treat them well, I will naturally reward you. If they suffer any injuries, you will use the lives of your entire clan to pay for it." Lu Zhantian warned coldly. "I will definitely do as you say." How would Shin Kong Shao dare to reject? He kowtowed continuously. He still had to thank Lu Zhantian for giving him this chance. After cutting off the communication through the messaging talisman, Shin Kong Zhao's face twitched. He looked at Shin Kong Shui and wanted to fly into a rage. However, he did not dare to. Right now, his fate was in her hands. "Wuxia, I was too eager to protect my daughter and misunderstood you. Please don't take it to heart. If you know Lord Yi, you should have told me earlier. I almost accidentally hurt you," Shin Kong Shao said hurriedly. Si Wuxia groaned. What eager to protect his daughter? He was obviously here for the God lattice. However, right now, his life was in the hands of others. He did not want to fall out with Shin Kong Shao. Thus, he said, "My lord loves his daughter dearly. I naturally know that. However, I have no intentions of coveting Lady Xiao Shui. No, no, no. You misunderstood. I do hope that the two of you can be together. Really. If you like, I will be the matchmaker right now and marry Xiao Shui to you." Shin Kong Shao was going all out for his life. His expression changed as quickly as flipping through a book. Si Wuxia. Outside Yiqinghan's courtyard, Lu Zhantian mobilized a team on the spot. All of them were at the god's sacrificial realm and headed straight for the god's county. Yiqinghan also came out from the commotion outside. After knowing everything, he nodded at Shen Kong Quan and allowed the three of them to enter the courtyard together. You only want to join the Kuang sect. You don't want a reward? Yi Qinghan looked at Shin Kongquan in shock. He did not expect that his reward would be rejected. That was a top-notch god lattice. I do not dare to ask for too much. I only wish to be able to join the Kuang sect. Even if it's just an ordinary outer disciple, that's enough, Shin Kongquan said respectfully. Lu Zhantian smiled slightly. He was very satisfied with Shin Kongquan. Then, he said to Yi Qinghan, if Brother Yi does not want it, I will leave him in the army. He will start from a small soldier. As long as he can survive, he will definitely be able to become a chiliarch within 100 years. Yi Qinghan shook his head and said, his current cultivation level is not suitable for him to enter the army. It will be very difficult for him to survive such a dangerous situation. I am indebted to him. Let him enter the outer sect of the Kuang sect first. He will start as a deacon. How far he can go will depend on his luck. P.S. Everyone join the group. If it still doesn't work, I will update it in the QQ space. Other than my space, I can't see the book anywhere else. It's very annoying. There is a problem with the Tencent system. It's not that I updated it wrongly. Group number 46353167. Chapter 554. The Divine Tribulation had appeared in God's county. Si Huangtian was indeed a true supreme emperor who fought against the heavens and the earth. He had once unified an entire plane. The Divine Tribulation covered the sky and covered the earth. His golden bloodline erupted and shook the mountains and rivers. He soared into the sky and directly resisted the Divine Tribulation. Chao Wanjun and Shin Kongxiao's faces were pale. They knew that if they didn't serve him well today, they would definitely be unlucky. Even if Si Wuxie didn't settle the score with them, Lu Zhantian would. After what they did today, even if they were swallowed up by other counties, the prefecture lord wouldn't say a word. Shin Kongxiao found Shin Kongxiu. With a strange expression, he pretended to be pitiful and said, Schwerer, I have mistreated you all these years. Please don't blame me. Shin Kongxiu looked at her father weakly and kept retreating. She didn't dare to look at him directly. Today's matter was because she helped Si Wuxie contact Lu Zhantian. According to Shin Kongxiao's temper in the past, he would definitely beat her to death today. Daughter, I don't dare to blame you. These years, I have been living quite well. I have enough to eat and warm clothes. Much better than many people. Shin Kongxiu said softly. Schwerer, tell me, who is the Lord Yi that Wuxie knows? Why don't I remember there being anyone with the surname Yi in Godmu estate? And how did Wuxie and the rest know Lord Lu Zhantian? Until now, Shin Kongxiao still didn't understand how he offended people and who exactly he offended. Shin Kongxiu was confused. She didn't know how to answer her father. Little Shui, you must save your father. Only you can save our clan now. Although Lu Zhantian and 7th Princess said they wouldn't punish us for offending them, they have so many followers. There will definitely be people who will do things for them secretly. When that time comes, it's possible that they will kill our entire clan. You must tell me the truth. Only then will I have a countermeasure. Shin Kongxiao knelt down and cried. It seemed like he was really frightened by Lu Zhantian's prestige. Shin Kongxiu was also shocked. She knelt down and explained, Father, I didn't mean to harm you. Last night, Brother Wuxie suddenly said that Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were his master and senior sister. He asked me to help contact them. That was why I asked cousin to help. I didn't know they knew Lord Lu Zhantian. Father, please punish me. Boom. Shin Kongxiao immediately sprawled on the ground. As a county god, how could he not know that Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi had become famous overnight after a great battle? Yi Qinghan had even defeated the god slayers. Now Yi Qinghan's status could be compared to the sect leaders of some large sections. He was not someone a county god of a small city like Shen Kongshao could treat. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi are Wu Xie's master and senior sister? How was this possible? How is this possible? Shen Kongshao felt like he was going crazy. He had kicked an iron plate, and the iron plate was burning red. They had already offended Lu Zhantian, and now they had offended Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. How could they survive in the future? Schwerer, you have to save the family. I really have no other way, only you can save him. You have the best relationship with Wu Xie, go beg him. No, marry him. Even if you become a servant, our family will have a bright future. We don't have to worry about the revenge of the strong clans. Shen Kongshao said anxiously. Shen Kongshao still did not know that Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were the ones who had snatched Medusa from under their noses. Otherwise, if he knew, who knew how big of a storm it would cause? The bounty for Medusa had been issued by the God Nation. Even the divine Mushan residents could not cover it up. Shen Kongshao knew that Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi had saved Medusa, so he had something to use against them. Shen Kongshua trembled. Looking at Shen Kongshao's crazy eyes, she did not dare to reject his request. At this moment, Si Wuxia was still very careful. He did not dare to trust Shen Kongshao. Shen Kongshao brought Shen Kongshua to Si Wuxia's courtyard. The two of them knelt down on the spot. Si Wuxia hurriedly pulled Shen Kongshua up, but kept a respectful distance from Shen Kongshao. He was not willing to say anything. Shen Kongshao signaled to Shen Kongshua. The frightening light in his eyes made Shen Kongshua not dare to object. Following Shen Kongshao's instructions, she knelt in front of Si Wuxia and said respectfully, "Brother Wuxia, I want to marry you. Can I?" Si Wuxia raised his eyebrows and looked at the delicate Shen Kongshua. She was not a top-grade beauty, but she was kind-hearted. He did like her a lot, but he did not want to marry her. Moreover, Shen Kongshua looked like she was forced by Shen Kongshao and was not willing. "Brother Wuxia, I know you have a respectable status now, and little Shui is not worthy of you. However, if I don't marry you, the family will definitely suffer the revenge of the strong. I don't want anything to happen to father and the rest. If you don't like little Shui, you can also take me as a concubine." Shen Kongshua knelt on the ground again. No matter how Si Wuxia pulled her, she did not dare to get up. Si Wuxia frowned and looked at Shen Kongshao. He knew that he was the one behind this and could not help but feel even more disgusted. "Shen Kongshao, what are you trying to do? Little Shui is your daughter. How can you use her to make a deal?" Si Wuxia glared at Shen Kongshao furiously and berated him. Shen Kongshao smiled bitterly and said helplessly, "Wuxia, you don't understand the mythological dimension. Because of you, I have offended Lord Lu Zhantian and the 7th princess. I have also offended your master and senior sister. I don't know how many people will want to kill me or even exterminate my family in order to curry favor with the 4 lords. If you don't agree to marry little Shui, it will be the same as harming little Shui. I am old and do not care about this life anymore. However, the tens of thousands of people in my family, including little Shui, will lose their lives because of my rashness. I beg you, I will kneel in front of you. As long as you can forgive me, I will do anything." Si Wuxia frowned and said coldly, "Even if I marry little Shui, if they want to take revenge, you will still not be able to escape. What's the difference?" Shen Kongshao saw that there was hope and immediately explained, "If you marry little Shui, even if she becomes a servant girl, it will be the same as me and Lord Yi Qinghan becoming in-laws. As the saying goes, even if you don't care about the monk's face, you still have to care about Lord Ye's face. At the very least, you can save little Shui's life." Shen Kongshao knew that Si Wuxia did not want Shen Kongshua to be implicated, so he specifically targeted Si Wuxia's weakness. Si Wuxia was only a youth who could fight and fight. He had always been under the protection of Yi Qinghan and could not deal with an old fox like Shin Kongxiao. I beg Brother Wuxia. Shin Kongxiu knelt in front of Si Wuxia. She knew that her fate was no longer in her own hands. Marrying Si Wuxia was the best outcome. Once Si Wuxia rejected, she would definitely be beaten to death by Shin Kongxiao. Boom! Just as Si Wuxia was about to agree, Si Huangtian stepped into the courtyard. His energy shattered the door. He looked coldly at Shin Kongxiao and Shin Kongxue and said disdainfully, "I will not agree. With Wuxia's talent, he will definitely be able to control a prefecture in the future. Shin Kongxue is not worthy of him. P.S. I will post another chapter. There is no telling when and where the future updates will be. I suggest that everyone join the group, because I am not sure if Tencent will draw a lottery do 463531647 who was punished to stand in the group. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.